Good evening, and welcome, our undead fiends. Come right inside, you've been expected, but please ignore the screams. Such an unfortunate turn, a blown tire, no spare in this ring. But alas, you're also in luck. As it so happens, Master is having one of his things. Please try not to stare at Frank, or become too attracted to Vlad. You've surely met Alistair. If not, no worries. He's really not so bad. The seance is in the parlor. The sacrifice out on the back lawn. Feel free to help us conjure Charlie, or recite something ancient with Anton. It matters not who you are, how you vote, or from where you hail. We're all strange here in the sideshow, and you've now joined our October spell.
Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, co-authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacey Edwards from ParanormalSideshow.com.
Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my super sexy wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have traveled down some strange roads.
We have.
What a long, strange trip it's been. I know I've said this before, but I tell you, before I even get into anything else in this land of double entendres that we live in, before I jump in, I want to talk about something.
Okay.
I'm kind of scared. I know this is our kickoff to our October spell.
Right. I thought I heard a new intro going on there.
Yeah. Something me and the boys worked up earlier. But the ghoul that lives in the attic, sometimes we dress him up as Ron. But no, I'm creeped out.
Okay.
I'm literally creeped out.
What are you creeped out by?
I know we're going to get into all this later. But the whole UFO phenomenon.
Right.
The Joe Rogan podcast from this past week. All right. We had the captain on there, the actually seen one of the major events of that's made it all over the world with the news. And just to have him on there is just so intense because it's different than seeing a piece of video.
Right. When you actually have the firsthand witness
and
accounts.
We have scientists sitting there going, there's absolutely no way whatsoever that these things can move like this. It's there. It's just there.
We will talk about that a little later in the news, but it was a really interesting interview, and he doesn't normally do interviews.
Yeah, in our pre-show, we always we'll watch videos. We'll go through different news articles and stuff, and I don't get her news articles that she doesn't need any kind of research with, but if it does involve research, then we will watch something and she'll ask me to queue up a video, or she'll ask me to queue up. Right. And of course with Rogan, I'll listen to Rogan anyway. Right. So I knew exactly, because it had creeped me out all week. And we queued that up. So right before airtime, we do this. And we've had a strange trip anyway. Literally this time, not just figuratively. Right. We have been all over the place, my dear.
Yes, we have.
My God.
It was so tiring.
Yes, and we just both recovered from the Black Plague.
Oh, horrible. And that's one of the downsides of traveling and wearing yourself down and then being around all these other people and going to these big cities that are kind of questionable.
Yeah. Who would have thought that stepping over coughing homeless people with needles actually hanging out of their butt would, possibly be hazardous? I
know.
I would have never thought anything about that. It's probably where you fell on that New York City street.
That was terrible.
It was horrible. And it was really weird because you were in slow motion. And I thought at first it was because there's my love falling and my arms are full. I can't catch her. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing for a man like me. And I couldn't catch you, and you were going so slow.
It was really a strange sensation too. Can I just explain?
Explain away,
situation? Dear. So when we were on our trip, which I'm sure you're probably going to talk about, one of the stops we made was New York City, and I'm talking downtown Times Square. Yep. We were staying in a hotel, right? And for anyone that's been in New York City or hasn't, you can't park in New York City. It's very expensive, and the hotels don't have parking unless you do valet. It's really ridiculous. So we found a parking garage a couple of blocks away. It wasn't a very long walk. And we took our car there, and basically you pull in, you unload all your stuff. They park your car somewhere where you can't see it until you take it out the next day. You pay them an exorbitant amount of money, but nobody steals anything. So it's a win-win. So we unloaded the car, and we were all carrying our luggage. And I had like a bag on each arm because I packed my stuff in a duffel bag. Like you have the rolling suitcase, and I had some duffels. And so we're walking to the hotel, and they're doing some construction there on some of the buildings, and so the sidewalk was really uneven, and I'm wearing like these boots.
Yeah, it
was weird.
Boots,
and
like,
so my
foot
turned sideways, like it went off the side of this part of the sidewalk and like went sideways, which I hate when that happens.
Right.
And in a normal situation, that wouldn't have mattered. I would have just been able to catch myself and steady. But because I had all these
like 200 pounds
bags on me, I was really weighted weird.
Yeah, Stacey's idea of packing lighter was getting duffel bags and still putting her full suitcase full of crap in it. I mean, when they got into the hotel room with me, and you can go back to your story in a moment. Anybody who's seen episode 7 or movie 7 of Harry Potter, when Hermione has her magic pocketbook that, you know, she pulls out tints and everything else.
Right.
That is totally Stacey. Just to let you know. She's like, oh, I've got it in here somewhere. We literally just found keys to the car that's been gone for a week. And I've seen her look for it where like it goes up to her shoulder.
I'm sorry, my purse eats things. I can't help that.
Yeah. So continue.
Okay. So, you know, my foot goes sideways. I'm unbalanced. And so I start to fall, and I can't stop myself. But when you say that it was slow motion, it was slow motion for me too.
Yeah,
it was
literal.
The weirdest sensation. It's like the whole world just turned sideways really, really slowly. But I didn't get hurt because I had these big duffel bags under my arms, sort of like, you know, weird
I'm surprised you didn't bounce
padding.
Right up.
And so I sort of just fell over on my luggage. And it didn't hurt or anything.
Oh, yeah. There was no helping you, no talking to you.
But you guys were all loaded down with luggage, so you're all just sort of looking at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm fine. I'm fine.
No, you've got this thing.
But
man.
I had to get back up and load all my luggage back on me.
It's all your childhood trauma that we've chronicled. You know, it's all the damn clown parties and stuff. It's,
right.
So everything we've ever chronicled about your childhood and all your embarrassments, everything comes back when something happens like where you fall. Because Stacey's very classy. She's a chick that is going to have the long cigar or the cigarette. She doesn't smoke, but if she did, she's going to not put herself in a situation where there could be a possible embarrassment. If she doesn't know the conversation, she's not going to speak up. You know, if she doesn't know the answer, she's not going to ask the question probably. So it's just one of those things. She keeps herself from these incidents. So when she fell, my instinct is I want to help her and everything. And you kind of get that side eye from Stacey. You have to be at the 33rd level of it with me. Okay. I've got all 33 degrees of Stacey. And she kind of gives me that, but it was really sweet. But at the same time, she's like, nope, I'm fine. I just fell over. Well, that's crazy. Like everybody don't look.
Well, I was really weirded out because I couldn't understand how I fell so slowly.
Yeah, maybe the gravity's different in New York.
I don't know. It was so weird.
Yeah.
But, nobody else on the street even noticed.
They didn't care.
No, they just kept walking.
I mean, literally.
Like you guys stopped and were like, hey, are you okay? But
we're literally staying in one of the poshest hotels.
Nobody even looked.
In New York City, okay?
Right.
And it's in front of this hotel. It's nothing but people laying about in the street, and there's no joke to that, so it was really, really crazy because then you walk in and it's like, oh hey, it's the sweet life of Zach and Cody. I mean, it's weird.
I did like seeing all the little things set up on it for people to make money. Like if you have some initiative and an idea, you can make some money there on the street. Like you just set up your chair and whatever you're doing, or your products, or people were drawing.
I saw that girl too.
Music.
Yeah.
There was like
prostitutes.
Very fun. That's not what I meant.
Oh well, I mean it's enterprising.
But you can just do that anywhere, and there's so many tourists that you're probably going to make a little bit of money at least.
Don't act like you're perfect. We sit there and talked about hiring a prostitute to watch Aries so we could go out. Well, we did. We may have been joking, but I at least wanted to ask her what her prices would be. You know? I mean...
You were like, I just want her to, watch Aries so we can...
I mean, it's like get her a pizza. I'm sure she'd be fine. I mean... Anyway.
Continue.
But I mean, after literally thousands of miles, nonstop events, and hardcore #Bruce Wayne job, job stuff, because we went to Raleigh initially.
Right.
And here's the funny thing. So we go to Raleigh for a couple of days because I'm doing some cool stuff, man. But we'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in Raleigh for a couple days, and we go from Raleigh directly driving to Boston, and without stopping. And that was a fun trip itself, just during the time of night, seeing some manhunts. Just so you know,
that's 12 hours.
Yeah, straight, which was actually like 16 hours because of the passing out in parking lots and whatnot.
Yes.
And the parking lots that said no idling at truck stops. What the hell? I mean, that really messed me up. It's like, maybe it doesn't matter. You're like, it says $200 fine. Ah, God, they're trying to collect that. But, we go to Boston, and just to explain, this is a bit kayfabe since I have a feud with this gentleman, but it's okay. One of my best friends is Chase Owens. I've talked about him on the podcast many times, and he is a star with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is a member of the famous Bullet Club.
He is.
He has been in New Japan Pro Wrestling now for 5 years as of like this Sunday, and so it's pretty crazy. I didn't know that till I saw it on the internet earlier. It's like it had been 5 years.
That's crazy.
Like, wow.
Time flies.
Yeah, it really does, man. That's a long time.
It is, but he really has been. I mean, when you think back, you've been watching him on TV.
Yeah. It's been in there 5 years.
So anyway,
yeah. So we get there, and of course, I'm in the business. But there's levels to this crap, man. It's one of these things. That's not where I decided, hey, I'm going to leave my family and go off and do this and pursue this and make this my thing. What I wanted to do was something that had come to us. When you know what you're doing in life, I think it slaps you in the face. And with Stacey and I always wanted it to be something that was us because I want to be with her. And, it's one of those things where something did slap us in the face, so to speak, and we were able and blessed to be able to go out and do what we've done and give lectures and write books and, stuff like that together. But the wrestling is such a big part of my heart. It's such a big part of my heart. But at the same time, I've retained that ability to still be a fan.
Yes.
And not be one of these pretentious pricks that I work with sometimes who think they're, too good to be a fan.
Too good to sit in the audience.
Like, I'm not going to go to that show. And I'm sorry. Is Vincent Kennedy McMahon going to call you today? Appreciate. And more than that, the biggest part of the reason I even got into it was to support Chase, because I support my friends and I get that really, local music, you support the other bands, right?
Right.
If one of them does something, you're very happy.
You're happy for them.
But Chase, I helped start, in his career. I did things with him. I gave his dad a spot and all kinds of fun stuff at the first of his career. And of course, Chase
when he was just a youngin'.
When he's a youngin'.
High school youngin'.
Chase has done all this himself.
He has. He's worked very hard.
And no one should take any credit for that, because the whole you could take a horse to water thing, I've taken a damn load of horses to the water and they have all drowned. Okay.
Not many of them could drink, could they?
And I know one that drank and he's there.
Well, just to be clear, this whole trip was New Japan was here doing a tour.
They were doing a Rare American tour.
3 days.
I was going to buy a couple of tickets anyway, and I was going to avoid New York City.
Right.
We were going to go buy tickets to Boston, and we were going to buy tickets to Philly, because that would give us a day in between for travel. The Boston we're very familiar with.
Yes, you love that place.
I love the auditorium because it's haunted. But Lowell Memorial Auditorium is freaking cool. It just is. But then I didn't want to screw with New York City. I've lived up north twice. neither time did I care about New York City, just because I don't like. I can't stand it.
No, I
can't stand that
hustle and bustle and
that many people in one place.
Yeah,
it's
very claustrophobic.
Very claustrophobic, which doesn't work well with me.
Right.
But anyway, Chase, being the awesome person he is, was like, hey, I don't ever get a chance to use friends and family stuff in Japan, because obviously there's no friends and family. Right. He's like, let me hook you up. So not only did I get hooked up, but I stayed in the same hotel as the New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers. So it's so funny because these guys that I freaking idolize, the Japanese, and they keep their character 24/7. And I appreciate it. I appreciate seeing Kota Ibushi get hurt at the Hammerstein and, and walk 3 blocks,
like 2 blocks to the hotel,
back to the hotel, completely limping
in and pushing his stuff.
I appreciate stuff like that. It was really surreal. And then Chase and I shot something at the ECW arena, which is iconic in Philadelphia for me.
Shot a video. We actually shoot something.
Yeah, we could have done that too, and they would have never cared.
So clear that up.
But and by the way, ECW Arena, if you ever wondered, it is in a really horrible part of Philadelphia. Just to let you know, the rumors were true.
It's awesome though.
It is awesome.
I loved that
building. It is awesome. Isn't it great?
Yes.
Stacey fell in love with the 2300 Arena, man. It was. It is just cool.
It's really cool.
It is cool. Hammerstein's cool. Just thinking that on the 6th floor is the Manhattan Center.
Yeah, that tall ceiling and those balconies.
It's really
gorgeous.
Cool. It's really cool. And so every place we went arena wise was awesome. New Japan puts on the only wrestling show I've ever seen that Stacey likes.
Show. Yes.
Because it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, boy, they don't mess around.
She doesn't like the entertainment part of pro wrestling.
Right.
Stacey likes to watch 2 good-looking guys beat the snot out of each other.
Oh, I do like the UFC.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, New Japan, it's like, these are their matches. Here's the first one. It's going to be this long, or it has this time limit on it, and they can't go past that. Oh, look, that's done. Here's the next one. Oh, that one's done. Yeah. Here's the next one. Oh, it's been 2 hours. You're done. And I'm like, yes, I can do this.
Yeah, and they keep their rules.
They do. And there's not run-ins, and there's not stupid crap, and there's not,
DQs.
It's just but it's entertaining.
Yeah, very.
And they're able to still tell a story and entertain you without all that extra stupid stuff.
Because they're professionals.
Yes.
Like in my book, they're old school professionals.
Right.
But anyway, with all that said, I know we got listeners all over the world. I look at the statistics and I know how many are in New York City, so I'm risking this. But I just have to say, hopefully I can pick up some more from Philadelphia just from saying this about New York. But New York City has interesting aromas.
It does.
Aromas you wouldn't expect. Chase's beautiful girlfriend, Laura, we were able to make friends with her. And the funny thing was, we were walking around the streets in New York, and she said the funniest line.
Yeah, we were walking down and we were trying to find like Times Square, like the iconic, what you see in the movies. And as we're walking, she was just like, every movie I've ever seen about New York City has completely let me down. She's like, this is not anything like what I expected. And of course it's not, because, it's not set up for a movie.
Because you're both expecting a Hallmark movie.
Right. You're expecting the bright lights and the picturesque and how clean, and it's not like
Keanu Reeves to suddenly walk up and be like, hey, man.
Now, I'm not particularly fond of the city because it's just, like you said, it's the big city and it's cramped. But there were things I found very surprising. One, I would like to go to Broadway. We did walk down to Broadway. It was awesome. Yeah. The theaters and just all the signage.
I like the inclusive nature. I like the fact that blacks, whites, Asians, Russians, freaking things I never even seen before. Everybody was really polite and working together and walking together.
They weren't. People didn't like bump you around. Like you know how people say, everybody's rude. It's not really like that. No, I didn't get pushed around. I didn't worry about Ariana that much. I mean, we kept her with us, but
and we went out to a street pizza joint where people are just walking up and just like you see. It was
like midnight.
Yeah, just like you see on TV. And it was awesome and it was cheap.
Oh my gosh, that was another thing I was going to say. Like, I was so surprised. Normally when you go to touristy places, you're expecting to pay these outlandish prices for regular stuff. And we went to like a Walgreens. It's like a Walgreens on every block.
Corner,
it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Everything was just priced normal.
Yeah.
And then we went to that pizza place, and it was like two huge slices of the most delicious pizza I've ever eaten. And a canned drink for like $3. I mean, it
somehow
was
that pizza was greasy, beautiful, large, with a crispy crust.
It was
I don't know how they did that crust.
I don't know. It was so good.
I could have eaten.
And see, I kind of want to go back just to try some of the other places. Like, it did look like there was a lot of really interesting like restaurants and stuff. So I would visit there, but it's not somewhere that I'm going to go out of my way to go to a lot.
The funny thing about New York has this going for it. As soon as you think New York's bad, you cross the bridge and you're in New Jersey. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, New York is pretty nice.
Yeah, I kind of like New York.
Yeah.
At least people can drive in New York.
Yeah, everybody in New York City, surprisingly, once again, dude, they don't let you out, but they expect you're coming out.
Right.
And they don't blow the horn and start to fight or anything like that. It's just you have to have balls.
Yeah, you're only going to have a problem if you're timid.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
So I wasn't timid, and we made it through.
It was surprisingly smooth. We got in the city,
Everything.
got to our parking garage, got out of the city. There was traffic, but it's like the whole glob of traffic just moved together at the same time, like you said, and everybody just went in and out. And if somebody needed an exit, they just kind of made their way across, and people just let them, and it wasn't
Oddly
a big
enough,
deal.
We had a lot harder problem on freeways.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was not any of the cities were really well done, and the traffic was fine.
The tolls were a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so we paid over $100 in tolls.
Yeah, just
in New York City.
In New York City, it was ridiculous.
So I don't know where your money's going.
Well, the problem is we have an Easy Pass, so we don't pay attention. We just go through the quick thing. They could be charging us $50. We wouldn't know. We're like, whatever.
I know we went on one Easy Pass Expressway, and the funny thing is we've lived in big cities, and you know, we just got back from living way up north, you know, but for some reason we were going through Baltimore, and there was like this Easy Pass Expressway, and Stacey's like, take that, and you know, it's like freaking 2 a.m.
It's like a carpool lane. We used to use that in Virginia Beach, so I knew what it was.
So I go in it, and the damn thing's like 10 miles. It's the most pleasurable experience.
It's like wide. It's like the Kramer lanes.
The
on
Kramer
Seinfeld.
lanes. Like,
these big lanes.
I would honestly pay $30 a time. Like, if they would do that on Interstate 81, worst interstate in the world. if you work for Interstate 81,
right,
you go to hell. It's truly bad. But, you know, there's always a block. There's always a wreck or something. But anyway, I would stay on those things all the time. My God.
Yeah. Well, they had them in Virginia Beach, and the thing I like about them is they're only open one direction at a certain time. Like in Virginia Beach, it was open going towards the naval base in the morning, and then in the afternoon it was open the other direction. And it's actually cheaper to use that because it's a carpool lane. You have to carpool to use it, so they give you a break. And you get to avoid most of the traffic.
You carry a mannequin with you.
I don't think that counts.
But yeah.
So anyway,
you know,
it was a fun trip.
All in all, it was a very fun trip, except getting the sickness,
the weird bugs, whatever we got. I don't know.
And I don't even know what was wrong with me. I know I came back and I was in my sarcastic mood, you know, and so sometimes I just go onto like Facebook, and I'm not a troll. I'm not mean. But I go on and I see people that are posting very passionately about something, people I don't know. It always has to be someone I don't know.
Right.
And I just come out of nowhere and I'll post something hilarious, right? So I'm a member of many groups, and you know, just stuff I like. So wrestling, music, whatever, paranormal, of course, like
lots of paranormal.
But you know, maybe 10. I don't overdo it. I mean, it's really ones I want to commune with.
It's really the ones you're not blocked from for being sarcastic.
I mean, exactly. You don't have to bring up everything, but people don't get sarcasm sometimes. So I'm on a lot of Hammer Films groups, and Hammer Films is just amazing. It's my favorite. We've talked about it, you know, in depth on here, so I won't go through it. But like Hammer and Amicus, I love those British films from the 60s and the 70s of horror. And a lot of it's the color and you know, all that stuff. So anyway, they also have some beautiful women. And I've got a thing for a classic beauty. Okay. I like a woman from, like the 60s or something that's got the curves, when a woman was just beautiful because that's the way she was made, Yes. And it's just this whole thing and the dresses and all this stuff. So honestly,
if you came home one day and I was wearing an old timey dress like that with like the long gloves and that would be the way to get you.
Like you have any problem getting me in the first place.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. So anyway, so the guys were posting, random pictures of some of the ladies who have been in these films. And there was some, I don't know what you call her, but she was one of these outraged mafia people that have to just be outraged.
She was triggered.
And she was super triggered. And she gets on there and she's just like, you dirty, just going completely off. Instead of nicely saying, hey, I'm part of this group. And there's a whole lot of women being put on here. And I feel like you're objectifying them.
Well, the thing is you guys weren't saying horrible things about them. You were talking about how beautiful they were.
Not a single dirty thing.
Right. Like it wasn't like you were going, look at those boobs or something.
Not even talking about how beautiful. And we were putting up these pictures and saying something like the lovely Janet, whatever, and what movie it was from, but just still, yes, we're appreciating that female form. I'll never be ashamed of that or back away from it. Just because I think it's okay.
Well, they wanted you to appreciate their female form.
Yeah, at one time that was a thing.
Yeah, well, one thing I like about that time period is the women were all curvy. Yeah. Like they weren't sticks or, super thin and thigh gaps and stuff. They were like, curvy with thighs and breasts, and they looked like they ate a meal occasionally, but they were beautiful and they, with the hair,
gorgeous, man. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, healthy. Just
healthy. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so that's definitely, I mean, that's the kind of girl you're not going to hear fart. It's just, you can look at that girl and go, you know what, I'm probably never going to hear her let one rip in the bed.
Right.
So, and just like you.
Or say a curse word.
Over 22 years, and I don't hear you fart.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue with your story. Oh, yeah,
continue. So, anyway, I just was mad. I'll admit it. I was offended at the offended. And because I get mad at people that...
Well, she was insinuating that you were doing something bad.
She was generalizing everyone.
Right.
I don't like that.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Why don't we just make our own group and call it the Breast of Hammer? And I was trying to do a play on words, like the best of Hammer.
Right.
So
because that's your humor.
That's my humor.
And your sarcasm.
So they took it very serious. Okay, like way too serious.
Right.
I thought we could have a site... And jokingly, mockingly, but still yet, if I was putting thought into it, it was to create a site, the best of Hammer, but call it the Breast of Hammer. That's the breast look you've ever had, and stuff like that. Right. So anyway, all these people that I don't know and have never talked to me before were calling me by name, and they were like, John, that's a great idea. Way to go, John. And all this stuff. It was like I could see like everything popping up in front of me.
Right.
And all of a sudden you get this weird, like most people would be like proud or whatever. I'm like, ruh-roh. This was not, and I knew it. I knew they were going to ask me, why don't you create it? You create it and we'll come, I'm like, I bet you will.
You're the new Facebook group commercial now. Remember that one with like dads with daughters? Yeah. Now it's like your new Facebook group, Breasts of Hammer.
Dude, anywhere I go, I'm a cult leader. I don't know what it is, but I was meant to sing, have a guitar, shirtless in the desert somewhere with a harem.
Right. So did you make the group?
So no.
Okay.
I didn't. But the next day somebody did. And then they dedicated the damn thing to me. Okay.
It was your idea.
Yes. But they were like, man,
They called it the Breasts of Hammer.
Yes. So they're like, they had this great idea, and here it is. It's a private group, blah, blah, blah. The cover picture is Christopher, Sir Christopher Lee, rest in peace, standing there with a buxom blonde, and he's staring down at her.
Should we pause while everyone looks it up now?
Well, it's the Breast of Hammer. It's on Facebook. So in 24 hours, we had 300 members. And those 300 members probably all posted a picture.
Right.
And I'll just let you know, there was some breastises out there.
I'm sure.
Somehow that made it through.
Well, I mean, it has to be people from Hammer Films.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was all Hammer Film stuff. But it was it was disturbing. But I mean, you just got to be careful what you say. I think that's the lesson.
I think so.
Is you have to be careful what you say because it might create something.
Right.
I
agree.
Just a little funny story. The funnier story is my son Cody is a very, very huge horror fan. And him and his little friend, I'll say, they go to horror conventions. Their walls are adorned with horror movie posters. They'll spend $200 on a because they're hipsters. So I mean, it is what it is.
He owns vinyl. I'm just gonna leave it there.
They listen to vinyl and not just vinyl. They really dig soundtracks. So like a really cool horror soundtrack. So they'll get it, and I'm just saying, they're into it. So I invited them. I was like, well, they'll might get a kick out of this. They're young boys, and when they're not young, but they're young. And so I get a message. The next day, and Cody's like, Dad, everybody in that group is a granddaddy. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, they're all freaking old. Like, they're all like 80 years old.
Because they're the fans
I'm like,
horror.
well, they're the people that grew up watching Hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not my time period. I found it from, Commander USA's groovy movies. I mean, it was really.
It was a little funny how appalled he was.
He was appalled because he is a millennial.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with that.
No.
But he had this whole thing, like, you could tell, because he never says anything derogatory about women or anything like that. And maybe I jokingly, Dave Chappelle, Robin Williams, the stuff I grew up on, and you do it too. I mean, we just have those kind of jokes, and we're fine with it. We like that kind of comedy. But yeah, it was really funny. It was funny, just the appalling nature of it all for him. But Breast of Hammer. So speaking of the best shows ever, I can tell you one that wasn't. It had potential to be.
Yes.
Stacey and I watched a live paranormal Salem investigation. I'm sure I messed all that up, but
it was the Haunted Salem Live, the one the Travel Channel did.
Right.
And we were really excited to watch it. It was a 4-hour live investigation.
We were excited to watch it for my men.
Yeah, because the Ghost Brothers were on there.
Yeah.
So the Ghost Brothers were on it, and then Amy and Adam from Kindred Spirits and Chip was on there, and then Jack and Katrina from Portals to Hell. Right. And I think that's still their show.
Well, there was somebody from the Holzer Files too, other than Dave Schrader and the psychic.
Yeah, there was the psychic. Yeah. I liked her, by the way.
Yeah.
She was pretty cool. I liked her.
She looked like she stepped out of time.
And even Michelle Belanger was on there.
Yes.
Is that how you say her last name?
I've
said it a million different ways.
Yeah.
But, because they wanted to have a psychic in each location. So it's a 4-hour live investigation with all these people in 3 different locations in Salem that has never been investigated.
Right.
So it had the potential to be really great. The problem was, whoever the producers were, I don't know who made the decision on when to put commercials in and when to cut the cameras, and they really just messed the whole thing up. Like, something that could have been really great was potentially ruined because it was a commercial every 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Then they would be with a team, and just as that team was getting something going that you were interested in, they would switch to another team. Like, they picked the worst times to cut away from what was happening. And I understand that they were trying to get all these different things in, but whoever was making that decision just had no idea what was going on. It was like they had no idea what paranormal investigating is, or what happens, or what you're supposed to do.
They sold way too much commercial time.
Right. And yeah, the commercials were ridiculous. In fact, we only made it through 3 hours. We ended up not being able to watch the last hour.
Yeah, because we were watching it live. We don't watch anything live.
So potentially we missed, 15 minutes of something?
Yeah.
I don't know. But the stuff that we did see, I really enjoyed. And some of the stuff was pretty impressive. We even had weird stuff happening in our house.
We really did.
Why it was going on. And we noticed that other people on Twitter said that was happening to them, but it really was happening to us.
Yeah.
And we have weird stuff that happens in our house a lot. But this was oddly timed to what was happening on the TV.
Yeah, it was oddly timed, and it was super loud. It wasn't one of our normals. One of our regulars. They do little things, and it's
right. We're used to that,
and I think we kind of know when it's them. But this was literally like taking a pan in the kitchen and picking it up and dropping it. I mean, it
made us jump. It was that loud.
It was freaking loud. It was one of those that couldn't have been anything else, not a heat change or like a French fry pan that's popping. No, this was a big piece of something, and it didn't just happen once, happened several times. Only one was super loud, but it was oddly timed. So whenever you're having a live deal, and especially if I'm tuned in, I can tune into a recording of something and kind of pull what's going on and everything. But this live thing, it was sketchy, for that reason. And then Stacey had her own sketchy moment.
Well, I will say, first of all, they had this announcer guy that was like hosting it. No idea who he was.
She was all over that announcer all night.
I was like, who? I don't
She's
know
like
who
Dave
this
Schrader
is.
standing right there.
Yeah, and he was talking to Dave
He's 3
Schrader,
feet from
and
Dave
I was
Schrader.
like, why isn't Dave Schrader hosting this? He would be perfect.
It reminded me of Live PD,
right.
Except it was like Live Paranormal Demon. It was
right. So
yeah.
I didn't understand that concept at all. Like, again, that's the producers. It's not the investigator's fault. That's, the channel's fault. And so, but then we get to this one point with Amy and Adam. And I thought what Amy and Adam and Chip were doing was really interesting. It was really great. I love they were doing with their little thing with the blindfold and the headphones and stuff.
Right.
So then they bring in Greg and Dana Newkirk. Now, I'm not against them bringing other people in. That's not what I mean. But when Greg and Dana Newkirk came in.
And in case people probably don't know who they are, it's they have the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal.
Right. They do that website, Week in Weird, and they have the Traveling Sideshow. And I think they do some YouTube stuff.
Right.
I don't remember what that's called, but, they do things. So, and they've been on these shows. They pop in. Sometimes they video chat with them and stuff like that.
They use the same Dybbuk box that I messed with.
They did. Yes. So they come in and they decide that they're going to do this ritual that's basically some sigil magic.
Right.
Now, I believe in sigil magic.
Right.
I'm not against doing sigil magic. That wasn't the problem. The problem is when they came in to do it, and if you didn't see it, basically Dana cast this circle and then Greg drew this sigil that they had come up with, and they claim that the sigil that they drew, the intention behind their sigil, because that's what you do with sigils, you draw it, it's very specific rules, and you have an intention for it, and then you put your energy in it to charge it, and then that's how it's supposed to, I think you're supposed to destroy it to get it to work, but everybody does it differently.
Right.
So they drew this sigil on this big pad of paper. So then here's where it started to get sketchy for me. Then they said, if you want to help us with this, join us from home, draw the sigil if you want, whatever. This is going to bring in spirits. Okay, so this is where I kind of had to question their thought pattern. I think maybe it was just poor decision making. I don't know if they really thought completely through what they were doing. I understand that this was this live thing and they wanted it to be sensational and they wanted to make an impact.
Or a producer said, if you're going to do that, you need to do that for everybody, because we've worked with people before who...
Right. Somebody didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And yes, it absolutely could have been a producer's call, but that's where they should have stepped in and been like, we probably shouldn't do that. And my problem is that they asked people at home to do it, and people at home did it. You could see on Twitter, people drew the sigil. They concentrated on it. And here's the problem with that. The sigil that they drew was to draw spirits to them. So if somebody at home drew it and they thought this is going to draw spirits in, the person at home isn't going to look at it and go, oh, draw spirits to Greg and Dana. No, they're going to look at it and say, this is drawing spirits in. So it's going to draw spirits into them, not to where they were supposed to go.
Right.
So it just seemed a little irresponsible to put that kind of idea into the hands of people that maybe, even if they didn't believe what they were doing, that stuff works. Right. Whether you believe it works or not, when you're putting your intention in something, it just works.
Right.
And, you don't know how many kids were watching, or, it just was really sketchy for me. I didn't like that. I think if they want to do it, great, do it, but don't encourage people. At least explain what you're doing. Make them
I don't know.
aware.
I would have didn't show the drawing.
Right. Like,
I think I would have said, we're making a sigil, safety reasons. We're not going to show it. It's very personal.
Well, and again, and this is the producer's fault, didn't give them really enough time to even explain what they were doing. Like, they didn't have that luxury to be like giving safety rules, and that just wasn't allowed, I guess. I don't know, but I think it could have been done a whole different way. Oh,
absolutely, I agree with you. And again, that's not any slight to anybody other than, I mean, if it was the investigators, then that's probably irresponsible on that end of things. Maybe a producer said to do it. We're not crapping on the whole thing. It's just that was a dangerous little segment potentially.
Potentially, potentially it could have been bad. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done it. They absolutely do it if that's what you believe, but just maybe a different way.
So we're very close to an awesome debut. Pretty excited about the boys being back in town. Ghost Nation.
Oh yes, we did see commercials for that.
Yeah, Ghost Nation, which just happens to be using something that I pitched. Not because they heard that. It's an idea anybody could have had. Just saying that I had the same idea.
It's on one of our shows somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same idea. I wanted to do that, and when we were talking with some TV people, I was like, hey, this would be really cool. Let us go, with the different paranormal teams from around the nation. And my whole thought to it was them and all their friends would then tune in, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, it looks like that's what the premise is. I'm not sure that is, but it kind of
seems like that's what it looks like. Because he said they go in and help when other investigators are at a dead end, and maybe they don't know what to do. Or
it's a great polar opposite to Ghost Adventures. Jason's style of investigating is always been completely different than that. He's more scientific method kind of stuff, and there's a place for both. There really is, and I love both, and it's okay to. You don't have to pick one or the other. So I really do enjoy both. I'm glad to see Jason and team back on the air. So Ghost Nation, you should tune into it, check it out. Obviously Grant has his team with Ghost Hunters back on the air. Ghost Brothers just finished their latest season. We got, there's just a plethora of great programming out there. Like I said, the Holzer Files, which is just kind of a cool story using the Hans story. Right. And if anybody's ever read a Hans,
all kinds of material for that.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've had the Ghost book of Hans Holzer, but if you try to read that, you got to use a magnifying glass, and it's, just because it's got so much bloody information, and it's case after case after case, and it's amazing. It's awesome. You learn so much, and just on locations, it's overwhelming. And I know it's one of those books we were able to pick up and just start reading, but we were on that train a long time ago, and it's still on our bookshelf. So there's a lot of cool things out there. Obviously they've made many paranormal shows. Rumor has it they might be making some more, but it's all cool stuff, man. And good luck to everybody. I hope everybody's show is successful, to be honest with you. I like the fact that there is a mixture. I like the fact there's a lot of different types.
Stuff's all different.
Yeah, if you want to watch Dead Files type stuff, there's a couple of those. You want to watch serious investigation. You want to get the bejesus scared out of you.
Right.
There's all... there's all kinds. Very cool. We just wanted to point that stuff out. And, we did watch the live thing because we did enjoy that. We're looking forward to the Conjuring House Ghost Adventures Halloween special. They're doing this cool serial killer thing right now, but our buddy Corey is obviously going to be on there, and hopefully his wife will be on there as well. And
I'm sure.
We are... I teased this before, but we will have them on the show. I've already confirmed it. I just got to figure out when we're going to have them. I don't know if I want them before the show or after the show, but Corey's already confirmed with us. And I kind of wanted to give him some time in the house.
Right.
And part of me wants to wait till after the show so we could talk more.
Talk more about what happened.
And maybe like what was it like having the crew there? What did they experience or draw out? Was there anything more that happened after they were there? Than what happened before. Obviously, Stacey and I went up there. We love Corey. He was one of those people that in one night I get with this guy and instantly kindred spirits. And we
it's eerie.
Yeah, we were little things that we do. Not to give something away about me, but from time to time, as a comfort, I may pluck a chin hair and I'll rub it on my face and maybe in my ear a little bit, tickle myself.
You like that tickly feeling?
The tickly feeling.
I don't like the tickly feeling.
So it was funny because I was doing it in the Conjuring house because, freak and crap, right?
Little bit stressful.
Yeah.
A little bit stressful.
So Corey, Stacey pointed it out as wives do. And Corey's like, oh, and he's like, I do that.
It's funny because I never really noticed it before, but sitting at the table and, while you guys were talking, we were all talking and just watching the two of you, it really stands out. Like, it's weird, the similarities. I don't know. It's one of those weird things, sometimes you meet people in your life and they're so much like you and you just have this connection and it's just really weird.
Maybe go after him, like leave you.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you guys are could be brothers.
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing. And he's got a cute little brunette wife. So.
And he named his son Kyler.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
There's a lot of weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness to it, and I agree.
Granted, he had it first because his son's a teenager.
Yes. We
didn't know that, though.
Okay. Yes, it was original when I found it. We'll move on from that. It's just like when I named Dakota. It was just like, I was like, well, I've never heard a kid named Cody. And, of course, that was my first, and then a whole generation. Was named Cody. So, you live and learn.
I want to say one more thing about the Haunted Salem live. And that is, I know that we were talking about how bad the cuts were in the commercials and stuff, but I don't want that to reflect on the investigating that we did see, because I thought they had a lot of really good ideas. And one thing I was upset about is I know Jack and Katrina were trying to do a reenactment because they were in the place where they did the Salem witch trials and people were kept in that building. And so they brought in all these people to read the actual transcripts from this court case. And it was so fascinating. And you didn't even get to see it because they cut the cameras away.
Yeah, poor Jack. But
it was a good idea.
We love you, Jack.
It was a great idea. That's stuff we would do, like trigger objects and things like that. And,
people give so much hate, right? And it gets on my nerves, but people have to criticize everything. They really do. If you are doing that, we don't know you're doing that. It would be a great time for you just to wake up and go, you know what? I shouldn't do that anymore. Just saying, I released a bunch of hate myself this past week, and I could never have felt better. And it had nothing to do with the paranormal or anything like that, but there was a few things in my life that some people in my life that I held. It wasn't hate. Hate's a really strong
grudges.
word.
Maybe grudges.
Well, not even like from afar. There were some things I had never really taken the time.
Resentment, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And some things like that in a certain aspect of my life. And I just decided that I was going to let go of that. And I did. I really did it. And I actually, put something out in the universe nice about one of these people, and I get a letter from him telling me that I was one of his icons and one of his inspirations, and that I was a legend. And
see what happens when you let it go.
It was just funny because sometimes you may misinterpret somebody not talking to you as something that it's not. It's more of a, oh my God, than anything else. And I really try. None of us are angels,
right?
But I share my soul on the show, and I think you guys appreciate that. And I don't ever want to be fake with you all. We all have our issues, and I'm really try every day to be a little bit better than I was the day before. Okay. Sometimes I go back 3 steps.
Right.
But I really try to be better. And that I can just say, with all the division in our country, in the world, all of the little things here and there, no matter what it's about, at the end of the day, most of us are struggling with the same things.
Right.
We're climbing up the same mountains, and I've thought a lot about stuff like that, like the positivity, putting the positivity out there. Just it comes back to you so much better, and you just feel, your soul feels, lighter. Just
absolutely, we're not carrying all that around with you. Yeah,
just to be able to let it go. Let them be the ones that are angry and stuff. And for someone like me, I was raised in an aggressive environment, even with my school and this and then wrestling and all this stuff. So to be able to let stuff like that go, boom. I'm just telling all you guys out there that are just your alpha males and all this stuff, it does feel good. And speaking of feeling good, oh my God, hashtag mommy daddy time. Yeah,
listen, we don't need to talk about that.
If this was a different show, with a different rating, I could really go in depth about how much I love Stacey. But anyway, so I want to get to something because it's that time of year.
Yes, our favorite time of year. You mean my birthday month?
Yes, it is Stacey's birthday month. Everybody gets so excited to dress up.
That's right. Everybody wears costumes.
And the reason is they're scared that she'll eat you. So they know that Stacey may pick that child if they don't have a costume on.
That's not true.
And the funny thing is, we go outside on Halloween and Stacey's like, hey, where is everybody? I don't see him. I see my goblins, and I don't see, little witch joke.
Yes.
So every year we like to do Halloween themed type things during this month, if you couldn't tell from the intro. So we're going to start small and we'll get bigger as it goes. Double entendre. And so I wanted to do a top 8 because that's what we do, our MySpace top 8. And I'm going to do the best-selling Halloween costumes right now.
Oh, okay. For this year?
Yeah, for this year.
Awesome. All right.
No, I'm doing 2017.
Well, I mean, you never know.
Yeah. So, no, for this year and thus far, and I do believe these are adult Halloween costumes.
Right,
and by adult, I don't mean like large penis. I'm just saying.
You just mean the ones that adults are wearing.
Yeah. And to normal parties, not naughty parties.
Right.
So, coming in at number 8.
Okay.
A can of White Claw.
Really?
Yeah, White Claw is just caught on. I mean, we don't drink anymore, but White Claw, I think that it's a non-calorie. It's like the white monster of alcohol.
Is it beer?
I believe it's a beer, wine cooler, something like that. But it's in a can.
It's a lightweight beer.
Well, I don't know. I mean, anything would be heavy beer to me right now.
Right. Me too.
Just saying, it's I see mostly guys drinking it. So
I mean, it must just be popular.
I mean, if you don't want to gain weight,
I guess. I mean, if you could drink a lot of beer and not get a beer belly, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be cool. If you couldn't get a headache too, I might still be drinking. But no, a can of White Claw is coming in at number 8.
It's an odd costume, though. I do have to say.
It is an odd costume. So number 7. This one was strange. I had to look at this one a few times.
Okay.
Risque Mr. Rogers. Of course, Mr. Rogers gained fame again because of the documentary,
right?
Which I haven't watched. I heard it's bloody great. So
how do you make a risque Mr. Rogers?
I saw a girl dressed up, and it was most of Mr. Rogers' costume,
right?
And there was a lot of it missing.
Well, of course, because that's what Halloween's for a lot of girls. Like, just pick a innocent costume and make it as slutty as possible.
Don't you dare talk bad about Sexy Dorothy. I'm just saying.
Wait, what did they say in that movie, Mean Girls? You just pick some animal ears and wear it with lingerie, and you got a Halloween costume. Yeah,
we had a friend that used to hang out with us, and she did the Sexy Dorothy, and it was the only time that girl was ever like, I was like, wow.
You're like, that's an interesting costume.
It's like, hey, have you been over to the house before? You know, every night for 4 years. Stacey, take the kids. Trick or treat. Yeah, sexy Dorothy's a thing. But I felt dirty.
Right.
You know, because Dorothy's supposed to be like an innocent child.
Yes.
And it like is one of those things because my mind does that.
Right.
So at first you're kind of like, whoa, oh.
Yeah.
You know. So let's go to number 6.
Okay.
This one was very generalized.
Okay.
Game of Thrones.
Like,
I guess
like the whole thing?
Yeah, I guess you're dressing up as the throne.
You're maybe the DVD box set.
That was number 1, a horrible laugh.
I'm leaving it in.
No, come on. That was, I don't know where that came from.
I don't know, apparently.
Oh my!
I really tickled you or something.
Oh my God. Geez. The picture they showed with this was the most horrific Jon Snow. So imagine someone went and bought a Snape costume.
Right.
And they really wanted a Jon Snow costume.
Right.
So they put on some fur and got a big fake sword. That's what it looked like.
Did they have like the painted on beard too?
I'll have to show you the picture.
Okay.
It's so bloody awful.
That's fine.
All right. So number 5. It's from Stranger Things, which it took the world by storm there. It's the Scoop Ahoy couple. So there you go, Stranger Things fans. Moving on to number 4, which I think should be number 1.
Okay.
It's the Area 51 alien carrying.
Oh, like the alien abducting you?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, where it has the fake legs and you're running, but it looks like the aliens. Oh, I love that costume.
Right, yeah.
That's catching on like that dinosaur.
Yeah. It's really cool. I dug it.
Yes.
I would wear that one.
I would like to try that. And see what Kyler thought, because he wouldn't understand it. He would just really think you were being carried away.
Scare the child. So number 3, the Golden Girls.
Oh, the Golden Girls. I love the Golden Girls. Are they making a comeback? They have like a cult following, don't they?
They do. They have a gay cult following. And and I'm not being mean.
It's because they're all sassy.
I'm not being mean. It's just a thing that every gay guy I'm friends with absolutely loves the Golden Girls. And I'm sure I used to love the Golden Girls.
I like the Golden Girls. They were funny.
Yeah. So anyway, it's sold out in so many locations. I looked it up and it's really sold out. You would think like the B. Arthur one would not sell. Like,
right.
Like who wants to be Dorothy?
Yeah, but somebody has to be. I mean, if you're going as a group, somebody has to be the Dorothy.
You should get the Rose and go as Naked Betty White for our show. So you could put the Betty White thing on, but go naked, and no one would know who you were.
Yeah, no. I mean, do they make like Betty White masks so I could cover my face?
Yeah, dude. It's
the actual masks and everything.
Yeah, they do the mask. It wouldn't be worth it if you didn't do the mask.
Well, I was trying to figure out how you did a Golden Girls costume, just dressed like an old lady. I don't know.
That's just like bag lady.
Yeah.
I mean, no. And anyway, you would have to go as Blanche. So I think you could be the sassy.
I could do the Southern Belle.
Yeah.
Blanche.
So number 2, the Aladdin genie.
Wow. Because of the
movie.
So people are just dressing up like blue painted Will Smith.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that could go all kinds of wrong.
Right.
Isn't
that just a genie in general?
Yeah.
Except, I guess genies aren't normally blue.
Yeah, you're just a goofy genie. I don't know. It's just popular, and I guess it's easy to put. If I was going to go as Will Smith, I would do Fresh Prince.
Would you?
Oh yeah, because I could wear the Day Glow and get some, cool like Zubaz and something like that.
I haven't gotten to see that Aladdin yet. I really want to see it.
Well, we can get it.
I like that story. Obviously, my daughter's name is Raja.
Yeah, we can get it on pay-per-view. So it's on there now. So anyway, number 1.
Number 1.
You're going to love this.
Okay.
The Addams Family.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize.
The thing we've talked about going as since we've been a thing. So, I mean, it's cool because we could do it with the whole family.
We could.
It could go back until we had the big family argument where everybody goes, why aren't you Fester?
And
I'm like, because I'm freaking Gomez.
You'd have to be Gomez if I was Morticia.
Yes, you would
that's
think.
Just the way it would work.
Unless we had some kind of weird affair and Fester was like, it's like, hey, Morticia, you know, why don't you come over here? Let me light you up. I mean, that could be exciting.
It could be.
He has electricity on his tongue.
No, I'd end up looking more like Grandmama with the frizzy hair.
So, anyway, I would like to do the Gomez and Morticia thing. Mm-hmm. And of course,
I like the Wednesday Addams.
Oh,
because with the doll head and you pull the head off the doll. I love that. I wonder why is that so popular this year? I
don't know, but that's another innocent child actress that when dressed up in a hot 22-year-old just really is bad.
Right.
It's many ways. In a good way.
Right.
But no, I don't know. Wednesday's always popular. And the reason Wednesday's popular is because she is number one. Wednesday's our daughter.
Yeah, she's the epitome of the strange child.
Yeah, I mean,
but she's strong and confident.
Yeah, like Ariana. Ariana is just like, hello, you know,
right?
Like, what do you want to do? Can we watch some death? Gruesome death. You know, Ari sits there and we'll watch death matches, and you know, just she's a cool chick. So anyway, that's your top 8 current, you know, somewhat adult costumes.
Halloween costumes for this year.
And of course, we'll get more into some lore and, you know, history, stuff like that. Stuff we've done before, but we'll put different spins on it because it never gets old. You only get to do it once a year.
Right.
So, you know, I like always finding little things to talk about with All Hallows Eve and really getting into that. So we'll have some goodies for you coming up the rest of this month, you know. So just exciting stuff. And, you know, I want to talk about just something with the website.
Okay.
As we've talked in the last few episodes, Raja has, you know, absolutely went above and beyond herself to make the website usable, user-friendly, I should say, and enjoyable experience. And I know you and her both work tirelessly on these things. And
yes, we're still working on the website.
Right.
There's still some things that are not completed, but it's most of it's up there.
And Stacey has also uploaded several clips from the shows on YouTube. So I would ask that you share those. Go out there to YouTube World and share those, because basically what we want to do is bring people into the fold, right? We want to harvest new members, you know. So
by offering up fun size clips of the episode.
Here, man, try this one for free. If you come back, we'll still not charge you, but you'll listen to the whole thing. And I want to give a little ask out there. If anybody out there is an artist, and a specific kind of artist, a free artist, that
is very specific.
That if you do, you know, caricatures, you can draw little cartoons, and you wouldn't mind to do that every week for the show. Basically, you know, we title the show a lot of times based on maybe one line in a show.
Yes.
So if we call a show Foghorn Leghorn Attacks Stacey's Butt,
right?
You know, it would be something that probably happened during a news story, something that made us laugh, something that was, and rarely it might be something very important, like a very important, informative news story, such as, you know, UFOs attack Kremlin.
I feel like we were more serious with the titles at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we've sort of just slipped since then.
At the beginning, we had been wanting to do it on our own for so long that everybody loved the comedy aspect, right? So everybody being the in-room audience. So if it was the producer, a creator, many producers on one show, you know, they would laugh, and then they actually would invite people over to sit on couches in the studio,
right?
And we would perform with a live studio audience, and they had to try their best not to laugh out loud. So Stacey and I took it on ourselves to always just really try to one up ourselves, and it was almost like the goal to make them laugh,
right?
And you know, so we are serious investigators, and you know, we really wanted to go deep and take that side. But the thing was, this is natural. And it felt forced because That is not who we are. Like, we can be investigating the most serious investigation of all time and still cut a joke.
Well, what I noticed with our episodes is at first we were trying to pick a topic for every week and do, because we had the main attraction and we would talk about that specific topic. And on the episodes where our topic actually coincided with a news story, it seemed like it just flowed so much better than if we just picked a topic to do that didn't have anything to do with any of the news or anything that was going on with us. And that was a little, it wasn't bad, but it was a little more difficult. So I think we just sort of evolved into just talking about topics that were covered with the news.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in our daily lives and stuff. And it just seemed more natural and easier to listen to, I guess.
And basically over the years, we've had a lot of fan art. We've had, even Marston at points has sent really nice stuff to us. Casey Grislack, he sent some things back in the Haunted South days.
Yep.
But we've had fan art, fan songs, all kinds of things. We've always tried to get them involved and use those things. So really, if you doodle and could scan and email easily, that would be great. We would put you in the know, and we would probably need a 24-hour turnaround. So it doesn't have to be a fine piece of art, something that we could put on a YouTube thumbnail.
Right. A thumbnail for YouTube.
And so
something that's eye-catching.
Right. It'll basically say, as heard on the Paranormal Sideshow, episode 52, and it'll have, like the picture.
Some kind of picture pertaining to whatever the clip is.
And then the link on, how to get there. We don't want to put too much commercialized on there. We want people to enjoy the experience. And we want them to like it so much that they decide they want to find out how to get there. So really, it's something I could probably do myself, but it's not like I'm not burning 40 candles at 40 ends already. And I would really just like to see, I know we've got a creative bunch out there. So if it's something that maybe you just want to try and you don't, listen, if you do it once and you don't ever want to do it again, that's no sweat. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get that. If we get 10 requests, maybe we do one a week, it's no big deal. And
there's 4 clips up there right now. I've got more ready to go up, but I haven't uploaded them yet. So, you can look at those clips and get an idea of what kind of stuff I'm going to be putting up. And that way, what kind of pictures we would be needing.
What we will do is promote the fact that you did it. Like, we'll give you the credit. Even on the thumbnail itself, we can put on there art down at the bottom, art by Deco or whatever. And we can, on the show, we'll obviously plug you because we have no problem plugging the, I plug way too many people. So that sounded horrible. That's not what I mean at all. I only plug one person, and it's often, but but you get what I'm saying. So anyway, paranormalsideshow.com is the address you need to go to and enjoy. Also, you know what? Facebook.com/paranormalsideshow. If you join Facebook pages from time to time and you never think of them again until somebody posts like this potpourri of poo that you just love, and you look at it once, but all in all, you've got pages upon pages of things that you've liked out of because somebody has joined you and as a friend, and they instantly send over the page that they have, and you're like, oh God, I'm gonna have to like this because they just liked me or whatever. Look, I don't do that on purpose. I have a waiting period of 2 weeks, and then I send it to you. But the thing is, it's grown organically, but I really want it to hit that. It's funny with us, man. We'll not have anything for a couple of weeks, then all of a sudden we'll have 1,000, on YouTube or anything else. So if you go there, I make it entertaining, and Facebook part is my baby, and what I do on there. Now, Stacey handles a lot of the messages on there, just because I'm seriously that busy, but I go and spend, as I talked about, I spend hours upon hours upon hours at different times. So don't get me wrong, 20 minutes at this point, and then 20 minutes at this point, finding memes that I've not seen other places, finding funny things that pertain to the paranormal or horror. Sometimes I can't help myself, and it's a bear coming out of the woods saying, don't go in there. Sometimes I just can't help myself. It's going to be occasional.
That one was funny.
It's going to be occasional ones like that. But anyway, I try to make it more than just self-promotion. I try to make it fun for you guys. So if you want a page to follow that will get you giggles every now and then, Got a friend named Doug who listens, and I love Doug to death. And he messages me from time to time, and it makes him laugh every morning. Like when he gets up, and he's told me that several times. That makes me happy. Like I would do it for the one person,
right? I guess you would.
If you
would do it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you brighten somebody's day,
right?
It goes so far, So just putting that out there, and why's the board lighting up? Sorry, folks. Stacey
looks like somebody's trying to get a hold of us.
Stacey can edit this, but why are they calling the board? Like we only do that when we're doing the call, or like
I don't know. I'm not expecting a call.
All right, hold on. Was it line 2? That's weird that it's line 2. Hello? You're on the air. Well, hello.
Oh, Antonio.
Ooh, pretty lady. Hello, pretty lady.
Hello, I wasn't expecting you to call.
Nobody expects the great Antonio and his powers of mysticism from far beyond the grave.
Oh, do you have some mysticism for us today?
I have so much mysticism that I cannot. It's bursting at my seams, if you know what I mean.
I see.
It's just like, ooh, I'm bursting and bursting. Mm-hmm. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, are you really?
Mm-hmm.
You still happy?
Yes.
Okay. You know how to get a hold of
You know John's sitting right here.
Yes, I know. Hello, John, you beautiful bald man. I love you. You have such a lovely wife. Such a lovely wife. I hope you cherish her and treat her so well.
He does.
She needs diamonds and furs and cuddles and all these wonderful things that only the great Antonio and John can give. Okay, what's that, Philip? Shut up, Philip! No, I'm doing the show right now. No, you have to go away. Well, no, you have to come back. We're going to do some things. Oh, pretty lady.
Yes.
Would you be okay? Oh, the great Antonio doesn't like to be put in a corner. And It feels like you only pull me out like first of the year, middle of the year. Mm-hmm. And pretty lady, I want to be with you.
Oh,
I want to at least talk to you, hear your beautiful voice.
Oh, so you want to do some more predictions for us, even though it's not the beginning or the middle of the year?
No, it's not the beginning of the middle of the year.
Okay.
It's the beginning of the last quarter of the year.
Well, you are welcome to do predictions anytime you like. Antonio.
So these predictions, pretty lady, because I thought I might know because I'm the great Antonio.
Right.
And I know these things.
Right.
And I know these things. Why? Because I have the great powers of the beyond and the other side. Mm-hmm. It's what great Antonio does.
Yes, it is.
And with Philip.
Yes.
Philip's a pain in my ass, but he's the guide I was given, so I have to go with it.
Right, okay.
So it's really hard. You would imagine that Philip's always telling me, great Antonio, I'm not so sure you're like the pretty ladies. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, Philip. Quit it. I will not wear that pink shirt today. No. And it's just my upbringing. I have a very multi-diversible background. Mm-hmm. My heritage is strange. They say my accent goes from one to another.
Yes, it's different every time.
Yes. I have a very strange family.
Yes,
and we all talked at the same time around the dinner table back in the times.
Gotcha.
And those times they created this, and I can smell you. I can smell
over the phone.
You smell like That should be the name of your perfume, pretty lady. Just
Oh, I see.
Like Allons les Rêvons. Just nice. Okay, so pretty lady, would you like to have some predictions?
Yes, I think that we would like to have some predictions. Thank you.
Yeah, we would love it. Oh, hello, John. John. Philip likes you, John. Philip likes you. Perhaps we could go see the new Joker movie. All four of us. You and Philip. I know you can hear him. He likes you. You could have some fun. Me and pretty lady could share a popcorn. Things like that. Okay, Philip. Shut up. Leave me alone. All right, on to the predictions. Philip wants me to get with you and tell you not only the rest of 2019, but 2020 as well.
Oh, some 2020 stuff already.
Yes, it seems that 2020 is going to be the clearest visions ever.
Oh, wow.
Little eye doctor joke. So we're going to do this here. Okay, I've got to freshen up here. I have to get my my mojo rising, as the great Jim Morrison would once say.
Right.
Get your mojo rising.
Right.
And it's something about a giant snake and the desert, but who cares? All right, here we go. I'm burning incense, and you gotta take it in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, I'm ready. The great Antonio predicts there will be great brainwashing.
Mm-hmm.
There will be great brain, not from dirty brains.
Right.
But a great brainwashing of the highest degree. It's do Philip say, do you feel irrational hate toward people that you did not feel that way about before?
Right.
If you do feel that way, you need to stop. You need to think, why do I feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know why I feel that way, well, it's because you're being programmed. They are programming you in many ways. It's with the smartphone and the smart TV and the smart aleck and everything else that's smart. All the smart things. Stay away from the smart thing. Well, yes, Philip, you can't stay away from them, but you got to notice. He says that waking up
be aware.
Is the most important. Exactly, aware.
Yes, be aware.
And when you aware, you will think about this and you say, oh, I did not hate her last Thanksgiving.
Right.
And it's because of the holidays coming up. He wants you to know. He says, let the pretty lady know that, you know.
I feel like this one's already coming to pass.
Well,
slightly.
This one is, but there's a lot of people who don't understand. And when they hear this, they're going to go,
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize why I didn't like Uncle Jim anymore.
I see.
But now I know that Uncle Jim can have his own opinion, I can have mine, and we're completely okay. But it goes deeper than that. I think this one will be an aha moment coming on down the line. You sexy beast, you. And then, great Antonio's getting more. Cures. Or cures. Yes, sorry, Philip. So there's great cures, and they're coming, and it's not the Robert Smith kind with the emo rock of the 80s.
Right.
It's just like heaven, such a song. I prefer pictures of you.
Yes.
No, seriously, I prefer pictures of you.
Okay, stay on task, great Antonio.
Okay.
What about the cures?
You've only sent me to one. Oh, well, sorry about that. The great Antonio knows all. Sweet as a bomb. He's forgot everything. I'm not forgot a single thing that I just heard. Well, you will. So the cures for many diseases. This one's very serious. So there's people out there that are very diseased listening right now. And I am talking about their brains.
Yes.
But cures for many diseases. And the thing is, they've had cures for many years. But there's going to be a big breakthrough. There's going to be, within the next year, there will be a humongous breakthrough of a major disease, maybe even the common cold. It will be something that comes and it's quick, and everybody's very excited, and it'll help quite a few people out.
That'll be nice.
So yes, that's a huge one.
That is big.
Great Antonio, going onto a ledge. I'm leaning over, looking at the street.
Yes.
You don't normally say things like this. Normally you say things like, there will be a rainbow in Des Moines.
Right.
Sometime in April. You know?
Right, I got you.
Big deal here.
That was very specific, yes.
It was. Okay. It was very specific. Okay, speaking of specific. All right. Sorry, sometimes when I commune with the other side, my lips move faster than Antonio's brain.
I see.
So I say things like sensible. UFOs, more and more common. More and more common. I foresee absolute proof. I foresee a literal landing.
Oh, an actual UFO landing.
I foresee disclosure of some type, but a literal landing caught on film.
Wow.
Somewhere important and undebunkable.
Oh, undebunkable?
Undebunkable. And did I say it wrong? Did I have?
I'm not sure.
Was there a pudding pop?
I don't know. I don't know. It came out all weird.
On the non-tobonkles. Mm-hmm. So we have this changes everything, but there's a problem.
Okay.
The ruling class. Insert boos and hisses. The ruling class, they don't want this to happen.
No, of course not.
They don't want this to be seen. They don't. There's some relationship there with these UFOs and the ruling class. They really don't like it. But
the UAPs, you mean?
Well, yeah, UAP as well. As soon as you see it land,
right.
But the thing is, we have this problem, and it's going to remedy itself because I believe they're wanting to be seen now, right. and it's time. They've conditioned, so their conditioning is over.
Right.
They need great distraction, and the timing will be relevant to the kind of distraction they need. So that also will make sense.
The distraction the aliens need?
No,
the distraction the people need.
Yes, the distraction. This will not be the nice aliens. This will be in disguise as the nice aliens.
I see.
Yes,
I see.
Great Antonio knows all from beyond. I cannot help my prowess.
Great Antonio is going way out on a limb.
Yes, he
this
is.
time.
He's lonely on the limb.
I kind of like it.
Do you? Well, maybe we can.
Do you have some more?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, this one's sad.
Oh.
This one's so sad.
Okay.
Bad news for Elon Musk.
Oh, no.
I don't know what this is. The Great Antonios can't see. Philip, what's wrong with you? Get your hand out of there. Thank you. Cookie jar. Elon Musk, bad things happen. I don't know if this is personal or
business.
Somebody finds body in car in space. I don't know.
Right.
It's something. It's something. Definitely I can see different things for different. So when I see bad, I see, John. And if I see good, I see naked you. And you know how Great Antonio works. It's the powers of beyond.
Right. So just something bad. Bad news for Elon Musk.
Bad for Elon Musk.
Okay.
Another bad thing here. But this one maybe not so bad. He might recover, but maybe not. This was for the great Rocky, the great Balboa, the machine gun man, the Rocky Balboa.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone, yes.
Oh.
The other side gives me movies. They like to watch movies. They don't have a lot to do. So, Sylvester Stallone health scare.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. This is coming up. Beware.
I see. So it's just a scare, though.
It's a scare for Sylvester Stallone, yes.
Okay.
It's a health scare. But it will make news. It will not be covered up. It'll make news.
Okay.
But there will be a health scare, and it's coming. So be prepared for that. I know how much you like your Sylvesters.
Yes.
So this one is it. This next one, I don't know. Great Antonio is picking up something here. Philip. A cover-up. I believe I've had this one before, but this one, no, this has a different ending. False flag. This false flag, there will be a false flag. You're familiar with false flags?
Yes, we talk about this.
Okay, cover up, but the coup will be outed 100%.
Oh, so they'll try.
They've been trying, he says. So we might not even know what that is.
No, but, I'm sure we wouldn't.
But let's just pretend there is some sort of thing, and this coup will be outed 100. What are you talking about? It's time to be outed. I'm telling you, Philip, I'm going to request a new person. I am.
You can do that.
Well, I'm going to. It's just ridiculous sometimes. It gets out. I don't know what you mean about out. Okay, for the next, I've got more, pretty lady.
Oh, yay.
I've got more. You beautiful, beautiful being. I can almost tell what you're wearing.
You can't see me.
Oh, yes, I can. You've got this bandana top on. It's tied just a little bit in the front with a knot, and these short Daisy Dukes, they say, and these long legs, and they're just...
Yeah, I'm totally not wearing that.
Oh, well, you are here.
Okay.
So then, this one is for you.
For me personally, or for me and John?
This one is for you and John. Absolutely. Your life will forever change.
Oh.
In a very good way.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad
I like the suspense.
Yes, the anticipation.
The suspense, it works. You got to work with me here. You don't come to see the Great Antonio and just want it all like, oh, this is it. You have to have the suspense.
So do we know if that's this year or next year?
We do know.
Oh, what is it?
How do I? It cost you. Sorry, Philip is saying no. Yeah. Philip is saying you'll lose everything. Okay, yeah. So I have a turban now.
Oh, do you?
It's a little red ruby right in the middle.
Oh, I bet that's very nice.
It's very nice. Mm-hmm. Very, very nice. Okay, so your life will forever change in April 2020.
Ooh, very nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. April 2020. By April, they say.
By April.
By April, they say. Don't actually buy it. If you see in April, don't purchase her.
Right.
I'm saying.
Just a good way.
I'm saying.
Change in a good way.
Come to pass by the month of April.
Okay, that's not too long.
Okay, we sometimes lose in translation. I don't know too much English. I only study the things I'm going to say, and that's it.
Right.
I wouldn't know anything if you just said something to me. All right, so because I can foresee these things, I even know what you're going to ask.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. I knew that. I had it written down right here. All right. So Great Antonio still not. Oh, you okay for a few more?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Keep them coming.
Oh, I will. I will. Is Blue Chew a sponsor yet?
Am I supposed to ask for more again?
Oh, pretty lady. you just All right. So now the Great Antonio and Philip will now bring you. Oh, this one, I've had this one before, Philip. Philip, you've said this one the last 3 times. Well, she's in her 90s, Philip. Of course she's gonna die. Oh, I'm not supposed to say die.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm getting something about the Queen.
Right.
The lovely, wonderful God save her Queen. Mm-hmm. Just a beautiful baby-eating queen. It's just... oh, I'm sorry, Great Antonio. It's not... Philip said, don't talk about that part. Don't talk about that part. He says you'll end up like the prison man with the... Oh, no, I'm not supposed to talk about that either.
Yeah, let's just... What about the Queen now?
Okay, yeah, Queen bad time. Let's just say Sylvester time.
Right.
Yes.
Health scare.
Yeah, health scare. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think her health scare probably started in the 60s, but...
she's a very resilient woman.
She is. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Those powers of reptiles.
Yes.
Okay, so next. This one is very near and dear to the heart of Great Antonio.
Oh, okay.
Great Antonio has feelings too. Mm. It's not all fun and games.
Right.
Great Antonio is a giant Star Wars fan.
Oh.
Great Antonio was very let down.
Have you been disappointed?
Yeah, I was very let down with Mary Poppins in space. Mm-hmm. That whole scene just really did me in. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was hard.
It was hard. I'm seeing it right now.
Yes.
I don't usually go backwards like that.
Do you have a prediction about Star Wars?
People are going to love it.
Oh, the new one.
They're going to love it. It's going to re-energize the entire franchise.
Thank goodness. Well, it did bring the good director back.
Well, I don't know about these things.
Yes.
Nor does Philip. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you that people are going to love this new Star Wars. It's going to be a really big hit, really big deal. Good. Of course, it's always a big hit, but this time they're going to also like it. So,
right.
With Great Antonio, I thought you might like something like that. So I have to give you something bad now. Major earthquake.
It's like you give me the bad thing, then you tell me something nice just to give me another bad thing.
Well, that's...
You don't control the predictions, do you?
It's Philip.
Okay.
He's like that.
Okay,
you should live with him.
Major earthquake.
He's like, you look thin today. I'm thinking, thank you. Look at the wrinkles. It's just always so back and forth. Major earthquake. I don't know where this is, and that's the problem. I was really trying to hone this in, but it is continental United States.
Ah.
And when I say major, I mean major on the 8+ scale.
Wow. I'm pretty sure we could probably narrow it down to certain areas.
Oh, I'm sure you probably could, but I'm not so sure that it might not be. That's what I'm saying.
See, it might be a surprise.
It could be a very big surprise, and if Great Antonio gets any more on that, they'll absolutely.
Perhaps when you come back at the beginning of the year, if it hasn't happened yet, you'll have more information.
Absolutely. I hope it does not destroy my house in Malibu.
I hope not. Ooh, you have a house in Malibu.
Absolutely, pretty lady. Marble floors, velvet bed. It's in the shape of a ghost.
Is it?
Yes. They said you could have the heart. I said, I'll take the ghost.
Can I ask you a question, Great Antonio?
Always.
Are you wearing anything else besides the turban?
Why? Philip, you damn it, told me you devil you. You dirty, dirty devil. You never did. She has the powers.
No, I don't. Just curious.
Well, some people stroke a wand.
Okay, do you have any more predictions?
Yes. I do. Pretty lady. Such a pretty lady. Okay, Philip, okay. This one's... Oh, you got to give me a second here.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Okay, sorry. Ooh. Oh, sometimes I sound like a dove when to a quail or whatever that is, or
got a bird.
The pigeons.
The pigeons.
Yes. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. I wouldn't have got the pigeons by myself, Philip. Egyptians. It's about Egyptians.
Oh.
You love the Egypt.
I do.
That's one of my things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like 8th Egypt.
Oh, I see.
Chun. We're a very small sect of Egypt Chuns.
Yes, I see.
It was a Chinese thing, came there. It was like Egypt Chun. Mm-hmm. All right. So the Egyptian, they're going to find a link. They're going to find a link to a time before. They're going to find a link that proves that the Egyptians as we know them kind of moved into an empty house, if so to say.
So like they were the first ones.
They moved. No. They moved in to things that were already built.
Oh, I see.
Not all, but you can kind of tell. We talk about this stuff all the time, right? I've heard your show. You talk about there's this wonderful pyramid, and then here's the one built by the 4-year-old, and they're
right.
Yes.
Right.
So
I understand. So in other words, they didn't build that stuff.
Right. Not all of the stuff.
Not all of the stuff.
Not all the stuff was built.
So they're going to find something that proves that.
Well, yes, there's something hidden that it's amazing. There's even sand. There's so much more underneath. It's undoubtedly you can go, and if you were just to blow all the sand away, you would find every answer to the universe. Are
they going to tell people about it?
They're going to try not to tell, but there's going to be ways that it comes out, and it's going to be a big deal. I do believe that places like you will find out about this, but it's a big deal. This is big enough where you'll know when you see it.
Okay.
But it's somewhat like they talk about the pee damage on the big lion man.
Right.
The water.
The water line.
Yes. Tomato.
Right.
It's but yeah, something like that. It's going to show that there was a time before, because it's going to be something they don't understand, like some kind of language, or something written, or something drawn that they do not understand. And
right.
You know how these things work. Philip says it was terrible at Alexandria. Philip was there.
Oh, I see.
Yes, Philip was checking out some book on decorations, and next thing he knows, they were setting fire everywhere, and
it's terrible.
It was just a really bad time. But that's all Great Antonio has for you, pretty lady, from the great beyond. I'm tired.
Great beyond.
I am tired now.
Okay.
I'm tired, but never too tired to talk to you. You still have my number, right?
Yes. Thank you, Great Antonio.
When I was trying to check, I text back every 2 days and try to see, and it.
Yes.
And it just never get to answer. And
I may accidentally have blocked you. I didn't mean to. If I did,
Philip says yes. Philip says you tell the truth. So Great Antonio doesn't know if he trusts Philip very much anymore. So I bid you adieu.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon, Great Antonio.
Goodbye, pretty lady.
Bye.
Bye, John. Yeah. Remind me next time to not answer.
Yeah, I think maybe when it rings and we're not expecting it, it's probably going to be him.
I'm always hoping it's like, somebody like Elon Musk, who apparently is going to have something bad happen.
Yeah, I don't know. That's terrible.
It is. I love Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
He's pretty good at rolling with the punches, though.
Yeah, he is. That was some pretty specific
They were, and it was a little different this time. Normally he just does a few and then he'll do some for like the listeners or whatever, and this time it was very detailed, specific, but at least he'll be back in a couple of months.
To
do like the first of the year show.
Yeah, awesome.
So that'll be cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can tell because you don't really talk a lot when he's here. You just kind of let me take care of it.
Well, I know how it works. I've got some fans. You've got some fans.
Right.
Yeah, we have to just let them live out their things. I get it. You are a very pretty lady. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
So as long as I'm the one that's, as long as you're only rubbing my turban, I'll be fine with it.
Right.
Listen, folks, with all that, I don't think we have anywhere else to go but up. So let's get to some paranormal news with the pretty lady.
Coming to you direct from the Sideshow Intercontinental Center for Strange Events and Odd Irregularities, she's more stealthy than a Cold War era spy. If it's from beyond the grave or above the sky, there's only one girl who looks under every rock to see. She's got your mysterious goodies and spells Stacey with an E. It's now time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
So nice that the Gran Antonio came by.
Yeah.
Or he didn't come by, he called.
Wait a second.
He should come by.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to start off the news this week. What are you looking at me like that for?
Because I have a story.
Oh.
I just didn't want to interrupt you this time when you were trying to get to it.
Okay.
It's a silly story.
Oh, well, let's start with that then.
Well, I mean, I was looking through some news stories, trying to find you some stuff, the stuff that you don't have your minions send you. And I found this one on Neanderthals. Did you see it? How Neanderthals died out?
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay, so they have this theory or whatever. They think they figured out how Neanderthals have died out.
Right.
And it I was interested because I was like, "Oh, Stacey, you'll love this. This totally fits the show." I mean, who doesn't like a good Neanderthal story?
Right.
So do you want to take a guess?
I mean, I assume it has something to do with the fact that they just stopped reproducing, maybe?
They're Neanderthals. They don't stop reproducing.
Then I have no idea.
Ear infections.
Really?
And that's what it said, Stacey. It said severe ear infections.
That's pretty severe. I mean, I suppose they didn't really have antibiotics.
I guess.
And it is very close to the brain.
I mean, I guess no wonder they were so angry.
Right.
It's just, I just thought it was strange.
It's strange. It's not really what you expect. You're expecting like this big cataclysm.
Yeah, I thought something, something cool like Stegosaurus,
Right. They're all eaten or something. Big meteor.
Ear infection. Makes you want to take that more serious, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Thought I would just give you that little nugget because I knew that you didn't have that nugget.
I did not have that one, no. All right, well, let's get back to our regular news.
Okay, the regularly scheduled news.
Yes, regularly scheduled news.
Easy for me to say.
All right, so I was going to start with just some space-type stories. I thought I'd go ahead and group them all together. And this first one's really interesting, and it's about NASA's chief scientist, Dr. Jim Green. He has said on the record now that life on Mars could be found within 2 years, but in his opinion, the world is, quote, not prepared. It's a pretty bold statement.
It's a bold statement. It's a big deal. And Mr. Green Jeans there is, I mean, that's NASA's chief scientist, right?
Yes, NASA's chief scientist, and he claims that NASA's close to finding life on Mars, and he doesn't think people are prepared. And the reason that he says this is because in the next couple of years, NASA's sending a rover to Mars 2020, and the European Space Agency is also sending a Mars rover. and I believe theirs is going in 2021. And so they're saying that both of these rovers are going to be drilling down into the surface of Mars. They're going to, believe ours is going to actually send physical samples back, which will be the first time we have physical samples from Mars. But they're going to be doing different sort of scientific tests looking for organic matter. And he believes that they are going to find some kind of organic matter or something that can be considered life on Mars.
So, I mean, let's talk about this. So, it's a big statement.
It is.
I've talked about before many times that if something is being mentioned,
yes,
you know where I'm going.
Yeah, then they already know.
So they are, now I want to get this out of the way too. There is a select group of people out there, you know who you are, that already know that there's life out there because they talk to them, because they, have things like the freaking sightings and the military sightings that happen every single day and the pilots that happen every day. So I'm not going to go down that road.
Right.
Let's use these people who are still somewhat in the dark, even though it's NASA's chief scientist.
Right.
But this would be part of like the disclosure of how do we let them know? How do we get it out there? And we've been seeing this trickle down. I mean, none of this stuff happened out of the kindness of their hearts.
Right. Right.
It's been an obvious thing that's been happening for a couple of years.
It has.
And it's been seeming like, one thing after another, like, we found all these worlds that were in the Goldilocks zone. We've been getting these mysterious messages from space. There's an interstellar object. There's been these sightings.
And all the news stories where they were based on speculating where the first place to find organic life and they picking out potential places and just constantly talking about it and being excited about it.
Every week it's in the news cycle.
Right.
It's in there. But this one, I believe you're going to go back to this. And I tell you guys sometimes to bookmark certain stories. This story is one of those. As soon as I seen it, I realized it for the gravity it held. And I've talked about on this show in the past, Stacey and I, that we believe there's more than an amoeba down below the surface of Mars. We honestly believe, because there is so much proof out there that Mars was a absolute paradise. There was lakes and oceans, and it was nice to live there. Mars, a good place to live, and God knows what they actually called it then. Who knows? But I even seen a story that it was once a utopia or something. So I think that there was something that happened, and I do believe that there are underground. I go back to Robinson Crusoe on Mars. I think that somehow we knew then. And I think it was one of the musings that, a muse gave that story, right?
Right.
But I think we might find some, I don't know if it'll be mole people. I don't want to go all crazy.
Right,
God, I hope it's mole people. I hope it's mole people and they or Fraggles.
Fraggles. That's where Fraggles come from.
Oh my God. Wouldn't it be awesome? And we went down there and we have like the little drone camera or whatever.
They were trying to get us prepared when we were kids.
Yeah, they're like,
with that show.
Sorry, but what was the little workers? The doozers?
The doozers, yes. And the Fraggles would eat the doozer construction.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It is. So but it tasted really good.
Yeah, but the doozers spent all their time.
But they like to do it. I think that's what they did. They just build all the time.
That's kind of the argument for house elves.
I suppose. Like, if the Fraggles didn't eat what the doozers built, then they wouldn't have anywhere left to build.
I wonder if a long time ago, the Fraggles ate the doozers.
I don't know.
Like, in ancient archaic Fraggle time, if they would eat doozers.
Maybe.
And doozers are like, you know what we could do?
We could make something that they like to eat better.
Like a little doozer scientist was like, we call this meth. He
was like the outcast doozer because he didn't like to build things.
Yeah, he just cooked. He's like, I call this creation meth. And
let them eat it. They'll think their trash piles are talking to them.
Yeah, and they'll just dance and sing, and then they'll have these certain moments where they come down a little bit and they have to come eat more. But that's okay. We can keep making it.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, according to Dr. Green, to get back to a more serious note, the other part of this article, not that we're just going to find it, but that he doesn't think that the world is prepared for the results of these tests, that he doesn't think it's going to go over well. In fact, he compared this potential discovery with the time that Copernicus stated that the Earth revolves around the sun.
That damn dirty Copernicus, blasphemous bastard. Anytime there's something that new and changed, in this statement is a blockbuster. I mean, it really is. I mean, all right, Stacey, why in the F would he say? Okay, why would he say? I just don't know if they're gonna be ready. Like,
right.
I mean, because listen, if it was an amoeba, all right, would it really? Would you go burn down the local churches? I mean, no,
probably not.
No,
probably not.
And I mean, would you, throw the cat out the window? Would you? I mean, no. I mean, it's just
no.
It wouldn't be crazy. Up wouldn't be down. Black wouldn't be white. I think people would be. Oh, I mean, you know what? It would be one of these things where we had to make a big deal of it.
Right.
And for one news cycle, it would be life found in space. It's an amoeba.
Well, and that's what we think. But honestly, there are a lot of people out there that don't do any kind they don't listen to any kind of paranormal thing. They would not be prepared for something like this.
Your parents.
Yes, exactly. Like, I know that for us, it's hard to believe that anybody would find that upsetting. But there are people out there, I think, that stay away from anything that's supernatural or paranormal or aliens or any of those weird, fringe, strange subjects that we love so much. And for them, maybe that would be a hard thing to wrap their head around.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I get it. I get it. I really do. But I also think there's more to this. Because, listen, that NASA scientist is deep up to the top of his pull-on rubber boots in crazy poo, okay? And he sees all the stuff we talk about. He hears all the stuff we talk about. So with him, I think his perspective would already be somewhat marred by, it wouldn't be as innocent as, say, someone like your parents, that it would really kind of mess their paradigm a little bit. But I think that, people like, and I'll use them again, your parents would just blow it off and just say it was, the devil got into NASA.
Right. Well, I was going to say that too. I think I'm more afraid that a lot of people just won't care. Right.
I agree. And I just think that it's a very ominous statement. I mean, maybe I'm reading more into it than I should, but here's my problem with it. It's not just a statement that was made that we had to find watching a news conference like we do.
Yeah, no, this was
taken on purpose. And I do not believe anything gets disseminated without.
Right. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Especially from NASA.
Right.
Who never says.
Right.
Anything.
Squat.
Yeah.
And I don't think things get disseminated on the news unless it's something they want to condition us with.
Right.
Take your pills, go to work, go to the grocery store, use your entire check. So you have to go back to work and, listen to what we tell you on the news.
Let us plant the seed in your head.
Be scared of these people. Be friends with these people. Here, watch this, eat this, wear this. I just don't think that stuff comes
right
unless there's a more dire reason.
I guess we'll find out sometime in the next couple years.
Yeah.
Who knows? Well, this next story is somewhat similar to that one, and it is about Enceladus.
Oh, that's terrible. They do that in the West Virginia mountains sometimes. Not incestuous. I was sorry. I thought that it was something weird about. Never mind.
No. I'm talking about Saturn's moon.
Yeah.
Enceladus. The one, and this is one of the ones we were talking about how they talk about potential life finders, that kind of thing. This is one of those planets.
I got to do one of those little things, like these views aren't necessally the views of the Paranormal Sideshow. Right. So I've got the, I've got an agent friend, my family, like half of my family comes from West Virginia. So there, just I have to say that.
Yes, the interesting half of your family. All right, so NASA just revealed that an ocean, this is NASA again, that an ocean on Enceladus contains the building blocks of life. They've confirmed it.
Holy cow.
Isn't that crazy? And do you remember a while back we talked about the plumes?
Yeah.
The water plumes.
Yes, I remember. The plumes.
The plumes. Yes, you do remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so a new analysis of NASA data revealed the presence of organic compounds in the plumes of liquid water that shoot into space from the ocean below the crust on Enceladus. And this is the first time that anyone has detected these organic molecules dissolved in the water. So they say that that's pretty critical because that means that the compounds could undergo some kind of deep sea chemical reactions that produce amino acids. Now, this is similar to a process that happens on Earth. Basically, deep in the Earth's oceans, the seawater mixes with magma and it bubbles up through cracks and it produces like those hydrothermal vents, right?
Right.
And those things can get as hot as like 700 degrees. And they spew out hydrogen-rich hot water, which fuels chemical reactions, and it transforms organic compounds into amino acids. And those amino acids can like stack onto each other and start forming proteins, which is basically the beginning of how life is starting to form.
Right.
And this whole process, it allows life to develop without the assistance of sunlight. Which is very important. And they've observed this on Earth. And that's really important because in a place like Enceladus, there wouldn't be a lot of sunlight. But if they have these organic compounds dissolved in the water that's coming from underneath the surface, and there are some kind of process there with hydrothermal vents and similar to what they're seeing on Earth, then it is possible that there could be some life there. Apparently they've decided it does have all of these building blocks. So the potential is there.
Are we talking like plant life? Are we talking, would that be considered life, like plant life? Or?
Well, if you get the proteins and, they start stacking on top of each other, it's saying that that's what's crucial for replicating the genetic information that creates life. So I think it's the kind that starts as the little amoebas and then it you have to go through the evolutionary process.
So it's been there a long time. Wouldn't it be awesome with this deep oceans, right? Number one, it'd be cool with the plumes that get blasted into space if every now and then, like there's like a fish, like
right. They just don't see it.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we do find out, that there is sea life and like dinosaur type stuff,
right? Because we don't know what's under there.
We don't know what's under there, nor can we see it at all, and or if there was like mer people, and I mean
anything.
There could be anything, and they would evolve to fit their world,
which would be under the water.
So they could have the gills. I just really want to meet a fish that talks. I want it to have like that 1960 gravelly voice, construction worker voice though, and like a cigar, and still be a fish, wear a little hat.
Right, but if you have an animal that lives underwater all the time, it would talk more like a dolphin.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think it would make like sonic sounds or, because they're not ever out of the water because it's ice covered.
Okay.
It would be underwater all the time. But like you said, it's been there a long time. If this happened, millions of years ago and it's had time to evolve, there could be no telling what kind of ocean type life. I mean, we don't even know what's in our oceans.
No.
Could you imagine what's in...
the stuff that's in our oceans is terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's stuff that can live in the dark.
Yeah.
And stuff that can live in these harsh conditions. And, it's just
I read this
amazing
thing about when you get in the ocean, that you're never around more dead people. Like, because more people have died in the ocean, there's more remains in the ocean, in the world's oceans, than in every graveyard on the planet. And and more than the people.
I'm getting that weird feeling like when you told me about the people getting sick in Disney World.
Yeah, it's
from
just
the human remains.
It's just disgusting. Like it's like there's human remains like all through that. So when you're standing there, not that it's not terrifying enough. I kind of wonder why I like getting into the ocean so much. Like because you think about. At any time, you could get eaten or step on a jellyfish or something like that.
It wasn't like that in Maine, though.
No.
In Maine, the water was cold, and it wasn't like... we saw some crabs and stuff, but it wasn't like...
Yeah, but they were all shivering.
Yeah, they were like all huddling together for warmth.
Are you guys crazy? It was... No, Maine was awesome. Just because it felt like we were tough enough to be there and not everybody... There's several reasons. you can't be there because of the taxes.
Right.
You can't be there because of the cold.
Right.
But because of that, there's a very small number of people there, and it's gorgeous, and it's almost untamed. Like it's just the best.
It is. It's very beautiful.
It really is.
Prettiest place we've ever lived.
Ever, or visited. So yeah. Oh.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
Maybe incestuous is like that.
Perhaps. You're going to make me end up calling it that, just not meaning to. All right, well, since we're talking about one of Saturn's moons, I've got another story here about Saturn and its moons. And this is a story about how they have discovered 20 new moons.
Really?
For Saturn, yes. And they're very tiny moons.
Right.
But this gives
More
Saturn
like
the record for the most moons. It was Jupiter. Now it's Saturn.
I bet Jupiter's pissed.
Probably. I think Jupiter wants a recount.
I mean, come on. Jupiter's so huge, though.
Right.
I mean,
Well, Jupiter's the biggest planet. It can live with that, I think.
Yeah.
You can give the Saturn the most moons.
I mean, that's kind of cool, though. It's Are they hidden under the ice rings, or?
I think that they're all. It says all the moons are about 3 miles wide, so they're really faint. And it just so happens that they just lie at the detection limit for that new telescope in Hawaii, the Subaru telescope. So they have just now been able to detect them. And what's cool about them is that 17 of these new moons orbit in the opposite direction of Saturn's rotation. So they're like retrograde moons.
Yeah.
And then the 3 other ones orbit in the same direction as the planet's rotation.
That's strange.
It is strange that things can orbit in the opposite direction.
Sounds like the ones that are orbiting in the opposite direction may require us to ask Mr. Harrison Ford to go look in that telescope. What do you think, Harrison? That's no moon.
Well, this brings Saturn's total up to 82, where Jupiter, a little over a year ago, I think we even talked about it, they had found 12 new moons around Jupiter. So that brought them to 79, but Saturn now has 82. So another interesting thing about these moons is none of them have official names yet.
Oh.
So they have invited the public to give suggestions, and they have a contest. And the contest started already. It started on October 7th, and it doesn't end until December 6th. And I'm going to link to this contest because there's very specific rules about the names that you can give these moons. So basically the way you submit is you tweet your suggested moon name to @SaturnLunacy and tell them why you picked it. And it says photos, artwork, and videos are strongly encouraged, and use the hashtag #NameSaturn'sMoons. Now, the general rules are that they name these moons after giants. Okay?
Yeah.
And depending on which area they're in around Saturn, it's a different mythology. So it says that 2 of the newly discovered prograde moons, 2 of the ones that go in the same direction as Saturn, fit into a group of outer moons called the Inuit group. So all the name submissions for this group must be giants from Inuit mythology. So you're going to have to go and see what the other moons are named already, so you don't, duplicate a name. 17 of the newly discovered moons are the retrograde moons, and they're all in the Norse group. So all those name submissions have to be giants from Norse mythology.
That's awesome.
And then 1 of the newly discovered moons, the other prograde one, is similar to those in the Gallic group. Although it's much farther away from Saturn than any other prograde moons, it has to be named after a giant from Gallic mythology. So there is a website here that you can go to get some more information. They do have a link that gives you further details about how the International Astronomical Union names their things, and there's links for all the current names. So you can check all the current names that they're already using. And that way you can pick one that you think is awesome, tweet it.
I've got 2.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know which one I want to tweet because I'm either going to go with Eli or Tiki.
Are those giants' names?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean,
I'm writing them down so I can check them.
Yeah, the New York Giants.
Oh, jeez. I don't think that's what they want.
Well, I mean, they should have been more specific.
They should have been more. Well, they did. They said from mythology.
Well, I mean, they do say they're a football team. I'm not so sure about that. So.
All right. Well, let's move on. And we're going to stick with some more NASA news. There's a lot of NASA news today. I know they're doing so much stuff in space, and you've alluded to this story a little while ago. I think you said that about them finding the thing on Mars.
Yeah.
So this is about NASA's Curiosity rover found an ancient oasis on Mars.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is an interesting story, and I believe they are in the Gale crater, and what they have figured out is that this particular area on Mars used to be like an oasis with small ponds and different types of water, and they can tell by the way that the salt deposits are in the crater, and it's very exciting. They've done this paper on it, and they describe all the salts that they find across this whole section, and they feel like this proves that Earth and Mars were kind of similar in their early days, and that this area resembled places on Earth that look like an oasis place with like little ponds and little different areas, and they're very, very excited about it. It's actually a really cool thing to discover.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy actually.
Yeah.
To come as far as we have again, you know, even from the time we started the show to now, you know.
Right.
It's been nuts, the discoveries.
Yeah, so they believe that they found the rocks enriched in mineral salts that the rover discovered, and they believe that gives evidence of shallow, briny ponds.
Briny.
That went through episodes of like overflowing and drying and causing these deposits, and they've just studied them, and they're hoping that as it moves away from the Gale crater, they'll see different areas that were maybe more underwater longer periods of time, so they can sort of map out how the topography was.
They get to like the seedy part of Mars and find like the bath salt deposits.
Yeah, exactly. They won't hear from the rover again for a while. But I thought that was just an interesting story, and since we were already talking about all these things that NASA was coming out and saying and discovering, you know, it seems like they're just, oh hey, guess what we're finding in space? Let me tell you all of it.
Stop calling them
now.
Not a straight answer.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about something that's strange that happened in Chile.
Oh.
Chile. This is about a mysterious fireball that crashed and burned in Chile. It started fires. And it says that last week, a bright flaming objects, more than one, were spotted in the sky and over southern Chile, and they reportedly crashed to the ground and started a series of small fires. And what is really odd about the story is they have thrown out the theory that it was a meteor, but they don't know what it is. There was no debris, like very big pieces of debris or anything like that. It says that they believe that geologists possibly found bits of metal that might indicate some kind of human-made space junk, but they're having to double check what type of material they found. All they know is it's not a meteorite.
Wow, that's really crazy.
Isn't that strange?
It is, and it goes back to the fact I always talk about, I'd like to be in the Chilean desert.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Chile is they'll tell you. They'll really investigate it.
Yeah.
And they'll take their time. And they'll work on it. But
it seems like so many strange things happen there. Either that or they tell us.
I think they just tell us. They're just like, hey, this happened, and we're gonna it'd be hard to cover this up because
it'd be a cool thing for their tourism, you know, like.
Right.
Come to Chile, you know, see something weird. Alien mummies.
They're doing a more detailed analysis of the soil samples. They did say they would release their conclusions later in October, so I guess they're not going to take as long as you would think. But what's also weird about this is, you know, some people have speculated, well, it was space junk, it was space debris, but normally that stuff doesn't make it to the ground, and especially not in a state where it can cause that kind of damage.
Right.
So, and for them to get there and there not to be something big enough that they could just see right off, you know, is very strange. Very strange.
Hopefully it's an element that we don't understand and we don't know, and it's like something got blown up, you know. Right.
I mean, it could be anything. It's very strange.
It is cool though.
Yes. And that went around a lot of the news cycles. Like, I think you could even still see it. People are still posting about the mysterious
I love Chile.
Meteor that's not a meteor.
I do, man. It's we have a cool it's always cool stories. Chile don't have any
Right. Nothing boring.
Yeah,
or stupid.
Nothing boring or normal. It's always something crazy like that.
All right. Well, why we're still on the space subject, let's talk about the story that I saw about To the Stars Academy.
Okay.
And this is not new information, but it's information that they are, I guess, I don't know if they're clickbaiting it. Basically, the headline is trying to say that alien hunters led by, Blink 182 claim to have found this UFO material that's unknown to scientists. Like, it's very sensational headline.
Right.
But actually, this particular material that they're speaking of, we knew about months ago because To the Stars Academy put out a tweet, and I believe it was back in July, if I remember correctly, about this material that they are having analyzed and tested. And they talk about how the structure and composition are not from any known existing military or commercial application. Now, they haven't provided any of their proof or any of their studies. They just say that they have this material and that they are studying it. And I believe recently one of the reasons this has come back up is Tom DeLonge in an interview recently kind of teased it, that it was going to be their next big scoop. He was teasing that perhaps talking of these exotic materials was going to be the next thing that they do. But, they have quotes in here from Lou Elizondo talking about how and we talked about this before, how they're taking their time, that they're trying to find the most qualified individuals they can, respectable people. Honestly, I believe what he means is people they can trust.
Right.
To do their own scientific analysis, physical analysis, molecular, chemical analysis, nuclear analysis, anything they can do on this material to prove that it's not something that we know, or to try and figure out what it is. That's what they want to do. And no, they haven't shown anything right up front, but they have not said anything yet that they haven't been able to produce.
Right.
So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. And we do know that there are materials because that came out at the very beginning when they started talking about the ATIP program and the warehouse with the weird materials. And, and we heard on Joe Rogan recently, they did the interview with the guy from the UFO video.
Right.
The commander, David Fravor, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Right.
But he was there, and the guy that did the documentary on
Bob Lazar
was there, and he's so funny. I love watching him talk because he's so adamant. Like, he just wants you to believe what he's saying.
Yeah.
He'll say he doesn't care if you believe it, but he wants you to believe it so bad. And he was talking about people. He alluded to the fact that he had talked to people, that stuff that hadn't come out yet, stuff that hadn't been talked about yet, and there was materials involved, and he had seen some or had heard about some, and so it's very credible. It's a very credible claim.
No, it's crazy. It's I can't wait to talk about the thing from Rogan, but this in particular, yes, it was in the original, I think 2017 article that talked about it. And it was like, 3/4 of the way through the article.
Right. At the time, people were focusing on the program, and that was the big deal. And they sort of just missed this other thing.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. And then it came out later. Like, it was part of the, I think people started wrapping their heads around it, and they're like, oh, by the way, this, and that's terrible. Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool, and that's a game changer itself,
It is.
Once we find a material that is like like the Roswell material that folds and uncomes.
Well, and I think what the problem is, and what that guy was talking about on Joe Rogan, was we can have this material and we can study it and we can know how it works, but we can't replicate it. Like, we're not up to speed in that capacity yet. Like, we don't know how to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
So we just that's not our technology yet. Well, I do have this story about that interview because, and you and I watched most of it. It was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super interesting with Commander Fravor. And if you don't remember who he is the gentleman that was present for the video that they did, the first one, the Tic Tac video. He was there. He saw it. He experienced it. He's been doing interviews. Now, he doesn't do interviews. Honestly, not a lot. He talked at the beginning when this all was happening, but I think that this Joe Rogan interview was very special. Like, he doesn't normally do that.
Yeah, there was a family member that was like, oh my God, it's the biggest podcast in the world.
Right. And so he was talking, and Joe was asking him questions, and Joe Rogan's very thorough. He's very good about asking you. He wants you to tell him. He'll ask you the same question 6 different ways just to see if your story is the same every time you tell it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's very good. He doesn't just believe you right off the bat. He just really wants to dig down and, make sure he understands and everybody else understands what's being said. But during the course of this interview, he happened to ask if he knew of anything else that had happened, maybe with other people he worked with. And he told this story that I thought was really fascinating. And this story did get picked up in a few news type articles. So I wanted to tell the story, and hopefully you guys will go and watch the whole interview because it's very interesting. So the story is about, he talked about another pilot that came to him after all of this started coming out. And it was someone he knew, and he came to me, he's like, look, can I tell you this? Because, I guess he felt comfortable now that Fravor had come out and talked about his experience. I guess he felt comfortable talking about his own experience. And he said this guy was a pilot, a very experienced pilot. He was flying a CH-53, which is a helicopter. Mm-hmm. And his job was to fly a diver out to pick up what they call BQMs, which are unmanned drones. They're used by the Air Force. They release them. They let them go in the water. They pick up data. Then they have to fly out, drop a diver. Diver picks it up. They extract the data. He said sometimes it's torpedoes. They'll shoot torpedoes out, let them collect data as they go. Then they have to go out in the helicopter, drop the diver, pick it up, get the data. So that's the thing that this guy did. He flew the helicopter and hovered over the water waiting for the diver. So they went out to pick up one of these BQMs, and he was sitting there, and the diver was dropped into the water to hook it up. And he said something truly bizarre happened. He said that they were about 50 feet above the water, and he was looking down. I believe they explained that the front of this helicopter, there's a lot of glass, and it's a very good view. You can see out everywhere because you have to be able to see, to land and things. And he looked down, and he said that he saw kind of this dark mass coming up from the depths of the ocean.
Right.
And he said that it wasn't a submarine. Like he said, once you see a submarine under the water, you know what a submarine looks like. And this was not a submarine. They didn't know what it was. But by the time he saw it, they were already pulling up the diver and the BQM. And as the guy was coming up, it sunk back down. It just goes back down into the water. And that was the end of it. No big deal. And so he thought it was pretty weird. But then a few months later, the same thing happened. But this time they were out picking up a torpedo, and they hooked the diver up on the winch. And as they're lowering the diver down, he sees this big mass again coming up from under the water. And he knows that it's not a submarine. He doesn't know what it is. So he gets on the intercom. He starts screaming through the intercom. He's like, pull him up, pull him up, pull him up, pull the diver up. And so they immediately stopped lowering him. He wasn't to the water yet. They start raising the diver up, and the diver's really confused. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on? And he looked down, and they were all looking down. And he said all of a sudden the torpedo just got sucked down under the water, and that object just descended back down to the depths, and they never recovered that torpedo.
Yeah.
Never recovered it. And, he said that a lot of people tried to tell him, well, maybe it took on water and it sunk. And they were like, no, it did not sink. It was sucked down. And that is a totally different look.
Yeah.
So that was that guy's story. And I believe that the area that this happened in is the same area that some of those videos were shot. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories around that particular area about underwater bases and different things like that. So it was a really interesting story.
Yeah, I mean, with the technology those UFOs have, and it's, again, we've talked about this, but it bears repeating. You've got the USOs, the UFOs, they're the same thing. They're because of the way, and especially if you watch Rogan, it's a fantastic representation of everything that's going on right now, because when you have Commander Fravor on there, this guy was Top Gun. This guy actually had classification in every classification you could have. He was commanding this unit. Basically, they might have the admiral over him, and that would be it. This guy was the top of the top. And so he's seen it. He, when he had this UFO thing, it had been happening for 2 weeks. It was UFOs. There's no other way around it, and they are not from this world. There is no two ways about it. You want to go and you want to watch him. This is worth watching. This is everything that's been coming out.
Absolutely.
And it's going to continue to come out now because they've already opened that door. And because of opening that door, you even have the military on there, him on there going, look, just because they take funding from us doesn't mean we stop doing it. And of course they're taking reports. And the thing is, somebody knows. And one of his arguments that was really interesting to me was the fact that he goes, we had this incident happen where there was a ship, and a Russian sub just popped popped up right behind it, and we all crapped our pants, and almost, you can have World War III, and like everybody's all over it. But hey, we have these things all the time, every day. People are seeing them, and we're told to just shut up. We're told to.
Do you know what I thought was really weird about his story?
What?
I don't know if you caught this, but after he told it, he said that guy was interviewed by the New York Times. During that time, they were doing the story about the ATIP program, that they talked to him and got his story, but they didn't include it because it had happened earlier. Like, it wasn't the same time frame. It was like in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so they just decided not to include it in the story. And I thought that was really odd. Like, that's an amazing story, and it has a lot same military people that can back it up.
Yeah.
There's history in that area. It's the same area as the other stories, but for some reason, it's almost like they were trying to structure it in a certain way, and they only wanted certain information to be out. Like, they pick and chose what they wanted to report on.
Well, I mean, even he talked about, because of the 3 videos, 2 of them are like the Tic Tac type machines, and then the other one was so crazy. It's like in a bubble, and it's like a square, which I've seen pictures of these before.
In a bubble,
I've seen the cubes,
right?
And I thought, well, that's crazy. There's a game cube.
He even pointed out on the video where you can see, like, because he said it's a bubble, but it's almost like a force field type bubble. But you can see it once he pointed it out. I could tell
and these
where it was around the object.
Are not aerodynamic. They're not. I mean, they're not built. In our understanding of aerodynamics, but you've seen the floating pyramids, you've seen just insanity, really. And they also talked about with physics, people were always like, well, how would they go 400 million light years? And they said it doesn't matter because of what they have. It's just you're there.
Yeah.
And
because of the technology.
Yeah, because of technology. It's hard for us to understand, obviously, but it's it is so amazing, guys, because this is not even up for debate. This is not something that, somebody can just come and know more than this dude. You're not going to know more about flying machines and what have you. And he's went all these years without really having anything about it. But with it all coming out now, I think people are coming out of the woodwork. They've made it easier for pilots now to report. Not that they will, but
but just like this story, he felt more comfortable talking about what he has seen, and he had never mentioned it before because it wasn't as open. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Just we're living in strange times.
Absolutely.
It's very exciting, for the people that were buying the UFO mags in the 50s and, just dreaming of this stuff, Now we're actually having these contacts and these stories from the military that's just amazing.
It is crazy. All right, so let's move on away from like the space type news and talk about scientists.
Well, it's still kind of spacey.
Well, this is something cool that some scientists have done, and it's an article about how scientists have implanted new memories into a songbird's brain.
Wow, like they uploaded some new albums or
So this is about these little birds. They're called zebra finches, which is a small songbird. It's native to Central Australia. And typically when these birds are small, they learn songs by listening and mimicking their father. So they'll listen to their father sing, and then they'll learn the song, and then they'll be able to sing it. So this same team, during some previous research, they proved that this process was linked to this network of neurons firing between, in their brains and causing these sensations, and that's how they learned. They figured out how they learned it. So they did this new experiment where they took the babies and separated them from the fathers.
Aww.
And they artificially activated the neurons in this network. And they found that has a similar effect of experiencing and learning. So instead of these birds learning this song from their father, they used these false artificial activating the neurons to teach it different syllables of this particular song. And these birds learned this new song by what the scientists were doing with their brains.
Wow.
So even though the headline says that they implant new memories, it's not really memories. It's more like uploading information, learning through a scientific it's like Matrix stuff. Like I want to learn this, zip, and then you got it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You fire up the certain neurons and
exactly.
There you go.
They call it optogenetics. And of course, it's in the very early stages because we're talking about little songbirds and it's not super complicated, right? And they're talking about how, they always have to come up with a reason why they're doing it. And that they say it could have some real applications for humans. For example, they say that it could be used to deepen our understanding of the neural processes and genes linked to like human speech disorders and different things like where it's disrupted in people like with autism and stuff like that, where, sometimes you have autistic people, they can sing beautifully, but they can't speak. And there's something, messed up, something that's not connecting or firing right. And they feel like doing this kind of work can help them understand how that works and be able to maybe find a solution, which is fantastic. For me, I just want the Matrix. I just want to go and say, I want to learn this. Could you plug me in? And then zip up that information and I'm good to go.
How do you know you're not plugged in now?
I don't, but I wish I was smarter.
Well, I mean,
But I thought it was really interesting because of, we always talk about how if they're talking about it and they're saying they can do this and whatever, it's probably further than that.
Yeah. Look in China. That's all you have to do.
That's right.
There's a monkey over there smoking a cigarette right now. Listening to us.
At least it wasn't one of those scientists shouldn't be doing this stories.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of those lately.
Oh, yeah. Or a baffled one.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk about some discoveries.
Okay.
Because, I love cool discoveries. And this story is about some lost scrolls that were charred by Mount Vesuvius.
Wow.
That they've never been able to read because obviously they're charred. If you try to unroll them, it would just be devastating and they would crumble and they'd be gone.
I can't believe they were I guess because it was on like animal hide or something. That's crazy.
Right. So apparently they're going to be what they're saying virtually unwrapped.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that awesome? We're talking about 2,000 years these things have been, sitting. Researchers say they finally have the technology to decipher it just by using this diamond light source, which is like high energy X-rays. It picks up the subtle hints of ink that are invisible to the naked eye, all by just scanning it.
Yeah.
They don't have to unwrap it. They don't have to touch it. They don't have to hurt it in any way, but it's possible. And it's not going to be an immediate thing. It's something they don't have to do over and over. But as they scan it, they should be able to figure out what is written on it and what kind of information it is. And the particular set of scrolls that they're going to work on consists of 2 complete scrolls and 4 fragments, and they were found alongside thousands of other, and it's papyrus, so thousands of others in 1752 around the ruins of a Roman villa near the Bay of Naples. And they're collectively known as the Herculaneum papyri. Mm-hmm. And they're thought to be the only surviving library from antiquity that exists in its entirety. And of course, this is, Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii, just everything was ruined. So to have this is just amazing. And if they really can scan it and figure out what's on it, I'm so interested to know what's in those scrolls.
It'd be amazing.
I mean, it might not be...
Wouldn't it be cool if it was like a conspiracy mag and they were like, you guys have to quit fornicating in the street. I'm telling you, the volcano god's going to blow.
Right. It's like all the warning about the volcano.
Or it's just a big drawing of a penis. Like, that would be awesome. Sex god, how to make drugs. I mean...
yeah, something that's just silly.
But really, wouldn't it be also awesome if it was talking about, like actual gods and
or past events or history or anything.
Stuff that was lost. And
yes, that would be very cool.
It's so cool.
I just like it because right now it could be anything.
Yeah.
And it's complete scrolls. It's not, I know they have some fragments, but they have complete scrolls. So you would, if they could scan it, they can get the whole story of whatever.
So you'll know when you never hear about it again.
Yeah, that it was something amazing or something they don't want you to know.
I'm sure the Pope right now is like, ring, 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 ring.
We must be the first to know.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, yes. Hold for the holiness.
Yo. This the Pope. Hey, listen. I hear you found the scroll.
Yeah, we found it a long time ago. We're actually going to use this diamond light. And it's brighter than the sun. And
I don't care how bright it is. Listen, it's 2,000 years old.
Is this really the Pope? Because you don't sound like what I would imagine the Pope sounded.
What do you think I'm going to sound like? I got to go around kissing nasty like diseased hands all day and wear this dress? I mean, yeah, of course I'm going to sound like this. I'm mad. I'm really mad. Have you ever seen that one place I have to go sometimes? Have you seen how satanic that place looks? Have you seen that picture? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it ain't right. It ain't right. But I go in there. Just like they want me to go in there. But you need to look this up for yourself. Maybe I'm actually not the Pope and I'm just John giving some kind of example of something you need to look up. But look up demonic insides of Vatican. Yeah. Anyway, if I was the Pope, I'd be all over it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, you remember me showing you that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the pictures of the inside of the Vatican. Yes, very creepy.
With the one
so blatant.
Well, yeah, the one place where it's like, oh my gosh.
I mean, like a snake.
Yeah, man, it goes all around the place.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very. I mean, didn't that one? He was like the highest level of exorcist, I think. Mm-hmm. I believe he's dead now, but and getting gang diddled in, the seventh layer of hell. But
right.
He's. How about it now, huh? What's your name? What's your name? Oh yeah. I would be a great demon. I would.
You would be.
I would be. It'd be like, let's ask John. How are we gonna punish this one? Let's see. What did he do in life? He's a diddler. Oh, a diddler, eh? Well, diddle, diddle, diddle. Here's my fiddle. It's seriously my fiddle. Ah! Yeah.
So you want to be the demon that exacts the punishments?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to be a crossroads demon.
Oh, well, of course.
I want to be the one.
A tricky one?
Yeah, I want to be the one that takes people super literally, and when they ask for their deals and don't word it correctly, I want to, give them the terrible thing.
Well, I would like to be the one that creates doubting Thomases. Like, I want to be the one that comes up to people and goes, if the devil's really bad, why does he punish all the bad people? And just have people be like, oh my God.
It's a very good point.
That doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't
why aren't they just having a party down there?
Wouldn't he reward them? This is all just conjecture because, hopefully Stacey and I are like playing harps.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. We're not going to be demons.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Listen, anybody if the podcast is popular up in heaven, which I'm sure it is, come on, right? Mm-hmm, I mean, God's image, he gave us this sense of humor. Mm-hmm, so anyway, I would hope that they're like, give me a little bit of leeway.
Right.
Right. And I don't particularly want to play a harp, but I would like to have something cool, like a big field.
Right.
Just a big field where we run around naked all the time and consummate our heavenish.
I guess heaven can be whatever you want it to be, May.
Wow. That's sweet to think of. Or it's our alien overlords that currently have a plug in the back of your neck.
Right. Well, if that's the case, they can do whatever we want them to do. We can be like, can our afterlife be this? They can just program it in, and there you go.
Yeah.
So we're covered.
And ghosts are just the person that's in the next pod.
Leaking over.
Yeah.
Ew.
Well, not leaking over. God, why are you so disgusting?
I don't know.
It just comes out of you too. I think you are possessed because it's not like you think of it. Mm-hmm. It just comes out and it's disgusting, and it happens a lot.
It does.
It really does, and you're just like, because I just seen your expression. You said that, and you're like, ooh, like you're fighting with somebody. Like yeah, you totally have a haunted butt or something. I'm telling you. Anyway.
All right, well, let's move on to our next discovery. And this one is about an ancient and mysterious Roman shipwreck that was discovered off the coast of Spain, and it has dozens of sealed amphorae still on it. Now, I know you probably don't know what that is. It's a weird word.
I mean, really, I was sitting here like, did I hear her right?
Yeah. Amphora is plural for amphora. Amphora is just a jar, and I know you've seen these. They're big on the bottom, have a thin neck and 2 handles.
I dated
they put
her.
They put like oils and things in them, and then they stop them up, and then they put them on the boats for transport. So basically, jars is what they are.
I've seen them. I first thought you were going to tell me it was full of seals. Just the way you said seal, like you didn't get the ED out, and I was really curious
how they got the seal in there.
Oh yeah, no, like the Roman ship of seals. It's just like Claudius, keep those things quiet. You know, whatever seals do.
So this particular shipwreck has been discovered off the coast of Mallorca in Spain, and it has almost 100 of these sealed jars inside, completely preserved. Whatever's in them is still in them. And they said that the discovery was made after
good damn jars.
A local resident spotted some shards of pottery on the seabed back in July. And so the Spanish government enlisted the help of this group called IBEAM. It's the Balearic Institute of Maritime Archaeology Studies. And they
go hired a couple kids off the street.
When they realized what they had down there, they did an emergency excavation because they wanted to ensure that the rare artifacts weren't plundered before they could be recovered, because they were found by a local. Obviously, people knew it's not that far
dude,
off
I would
the
be
coast.
hiring Juan, right? You know, I would be. I'd be like, Juan, Julio, listen, you want to eat?
Well, here's the weird part. They found the vessel just a few meters off the coast of a beach, which is one of the most tourist-heavy areas in the islands. And nobody had found it. They just happened to find it because some of the pottery was up on shore. But because it was such a tourist-heavy area, some of the locals knew they wanted to go ahead and get all of those artifacts off of there so people didn't go down there themselves and mess it up and get some of the sealed stuff. So they did this emergency excavation. They pulled off everything. It was like underwater archaeologist, naval architecture specialist, a Spanish Navy and Civil Guard, and they found the sunken vessel. They went ahead and got everything that they thought was really important. They had to leave some stuff down there, but they got all the most important sealed stuff. They got it out of there, and they estimate that the ship dated to the 3rd century AD, sank around 1700 years ago. And they're really not sure how the ship sank because it was really well preserved and nothing was broken. They don't think it was turbulent weather because, you know, all the cargo was still there intact. They think that maybe it sprang a leak, or, you know, maybe there was fighting on board that caused some kind of issue and it sank. I hate that it was so close to shore and it sank, but they're really excited to open these vessels since they're sealed, that whatever's in there is so old and preserved. It could be oil, could be wine. They have no idea what's in there.
Jesus, dude, listen. It's just offshore and they sank it. Those jars could be filled of like some kind of like haunted urine.
Yeah, you have no idea.
You'd be like, well, this was where all the possessed lepers pissed in these jars.
So you're saying they sunk it on purpose to hide this stuff so nobody would get it. Oh, I see. I see. Oh, so this is going to be like the start of a horror movie.
Yeah, like they just open it and it's like, smells like ammonia. It's leper pee. Oh no, you know. You got to watch out for leper pee.
Well, they say that they're going to, over the next couple months, analyze the contents of the jars, and that the results of the research will be published, you know, in the upcoming months. So, very interesting story. I'm really curious what they're going to find in there, if it's some kind of disease or something, or if it's actually just wine and oil. Maybe they'll figure out what happened, why it sank.
Dude, if it's wine, can you imagine how good that is?
Oh my gosh, being aged under the sea.
And chilled.
Exactly.
My God, it's 1,700 years old.
Right.
I bet there is some out there.
There probably is.
And because wine gets, you know, much better with age, right?
What do you think they would do with it? Do you think they just keep it? Would they auction it off? Do you think scientists tried it?
Dude, if you did the test,
right?
If you did the test, and it's not toxic, okay, it's straight up wine, right?
Right.
Come on, you know, man, and it's the good kind of wine, you know, it's the good old, like, you know, Christian feet, like what? Because it's Romans, right? So
peasant made wine.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, I would say like good old slave feet, like good old Christian, you know, because it's the Romans, and that's what they did. they were terrible.
Yes.
So I can just say though, it's like, hey, you can fight the lion, or you can make sure all the grapes are crushed. It's really up to you. And I mean, which one would you do?
Exactly.
So I'm just saying they took their work seriously. These peasants, and I bet that the wine was just magnificent.
I'm sure it's delicious.
So you find out, you do all the tests, right? And you're just like, it's not toxic. I can just see us in the lab and be like, so it's just straight up wine? Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it's 1,700 years old.
I'd still make somebody else taste it first. I wouldn't do it.
It's like hashtag mommy daddy time wine. It's a shot. I mean, they could become billionaires just off selling that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get a whole lot of that kind of stuff show up. But
could you imagine if every single one of those had wine in it, and they found like 100 of them?
I bet it's olive oil.
Probably. I would think it would be more like olive oil. Or something like that. Even did they put dry ingredients in there, like grains and stuff? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how dry they'd be now. Of course, it's been sealed this whole time.
It's sealed, yeah. So
I think the more important thing is we figure out how they made their seals.
Right. I mean, that's better than Tupperware, isn't it?
It really is. And Tupperware can survive a nuclear winter. Remember when we were kids and they would talk about that? They'd be like, the only thing left would be Tupperware.
I remember when my mom first got the ones that you could just push the middle of the lid and the whole thing would snap, and she'd be like, look, and it would snap.
Yeah. It was the coolest things when we were kids, like, standing in front of the microwave. Remember? It's like, this is amazing. And microwave food first started coming out.
My sister sold Tupperware for a while years ago, and
God, I forgot that was a thing.
She had this cereal keeper that's supposed to keep your cereal fresh for a year.
Yeah.
And she put cereal in it and let it sit on her refrigerator for a year to test it.
Did she eat it?
Yes, she did. It was delicious. She gave me a bite. It was fresh, just like it was. Like it tasted fresh.
That's some kind of voodoo.
It's weird. It was weird. She didn't open it though the whole year. Like,
what happened to that stuff? Why don't we have that now?
I think you can still get that kind of Tupperware, but I don't know. I don't know anybody that sells Tupperware, and I mean, I know you can buy it in the store, but you have to be careful because you get like fake stuff.
Do you remember the home interior parties?
Yes.
Like every housewife seemed like they were on home interior, and they would like want to do the parties, and then it would just be the women that all sold the home interiors,
right?
And then they would
just sell it to each other.
Yeah, they would do parties at each other's house. There's so much stuff in my mom and dad's house that is from home interiors.
I've been to a lot of those parties. I've been to a home interiors party. The kitchen one was a big thing for a while, where you get the baking stones. And I can't remember the name of that one, but it's like all kitchen cooking stuff. Really good stuff too.
I love the baking stones because
I need a new baking stone.
I use that as one of my things at work.
But see, now you can just go to a store and buy a baking stone. You used to be able to just get them anywhere.
Yeah, but you can't buy it with the flavor.
No, that's some good stones.
Because at my hashtag Bruce Wayne job, I always do this thing about being trained in different places and how it's like a baking stone, and you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit, and then finally you get your own taste, and it's unique to you, and it's all the stuff that we've put on you, and I like to create people, and I want them to be individuals though, right? So I give them a diverse training, and not to bore everybody, but that's one of my things. Have you ever been to a naughty party?
I have once.
Really?
One time, and when I was 18, my stepmother was throwing one for a friend or her sister or somebody that was getting married, and so she threw this naughty party, all women, naughty buy naughty things party, and so she invited me to come because she's my stepmother, and so I went just out of curiosity. Mainly because I'd never been to one, because like I've done the Tupperware and I've done the kitchen one, and I've done all the typical ones.
All these years I never knew this.
But I had never gone to one of these, so I went, and it was fun. I've never heard women laugh so hard in my entire life, but I was really mortified. But the woman that did the party was really funny, and what they do is they give you the order form first of all. The first thing, any of those parties, you get the order form so you can buy things. And she gave everybody a pencil, and on the pencil she put a little penis eraser. Everybody had a little penis eraser on their pencil, right? So anytime she was showing a product that was flavored or something like that, she would put it on the end of your little pencil thing, and that to taste it that way. It was really weird. It was crazy, but it was fun.
You're
at a loss for words, aren't you?
I just never dreamed when I said that.
I don't remember a lot of the stuff that they sold. Like she went real descriptive about a lot of different things.
Did you buy anything?
I didn't buy anything, no. I mean, I was 18, I didn't have any money, but I went. It was fun. It was funny. And most of the women there were older than me. You know, it was my stepmother and her friends, you know, so they were all like older women.
So it's not like the stuff on
cackling and
they don't all try it out or anything like right in front.
No. She shows the products and, you know, and like I said, if it's like a flavored thing, like a lotion or some kind of thing, she explains how to use different things. There's pictures, but there's not like, nobody like models anything or, you know, demonstrates or anything like that.
Oh, that disappoints me. That's like when
I suppose you could run your naughty party any way you want.
Well, I mean, that's like when I found out that pillow fights didn't really happen as much as I just
like girls sleepovers are not like on the movies.
I grew up thinking that girls got together at sleepovers and wore nighties and would start giggling and
you watch way too much television. Way too much television.
I tell you, the world disappointed me in many ways. I remember going out with some of my first dates, you know, not really girlfriends, but just some of my first dates.
Right.
And really, you know, I had every Matt Dillon line in my head. I had every Rob Lowe thing. And it's just funny. It's just funny going back to how you see it on TV and then how their original awkward experiences are, how they're nothing like what you expect. And you're kind of like, wow, you know, I should have stayed home and watched wrestling. But it's just funny. But no, naughty party Stacey, I didn't. It's like new this Christmas. Have your own naughty party Stacey.
It was interesting.
How did you go all these years without telling me about that?
I think I have told you about it just a long time ago. I just don't think you
remembered.
That's always
your answer. That's always your answer. Like when I find out, it's like, well, you know, I killed that guy that night, and I didn't mean it to happen. It was just a shiv, you know, and he was coming out.
I've never killed anyone, so there you are.
All right. Well, I'm not going to answer my side of that, so let's go on.
All right, so let's continue. And this is one more discovery that I want to talk about that I thought was really cool, and it's about this thing they call the Swiss Stonehenge. And this is just a group of.
Is it a Stonehenge that does like amazing things? Like it can make like 42 different designs, or
yes, exactly. It can julienne fries, you know, whatever.
Your Swiss Stonehenge could also. You know.
It's a monument that's under the water. It's under this lake called Lake Constance. Now, Lake Constance is a body of water that borders Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And on the Swiss side of the lake, about 15 feet down at the bottom of the lake, is a Neolithic relic. And they have verified now through scientific means that this monument that was built 5,500 years ago did not originate naturally, that it was made by human hands. The rocks were piled up, absolutely 100% made. Not natural. I think there was some kind of debate there for a while that it was like the thing they always say, you know, like the glaciers picked it up and stacked it just exactly so. And no, they decided creative. They have done this underwater geo-radar that was developed by the Technical University of Darmstadt in Germany. So you know it worked. Yeah, absolutely. And this team of scientists managed to study the lake's sediment and stone deposits, and they're trying to figure out the origin and the purpose of the formations. So far, they've decided that absolutely these stones, they're up to 40 centimeters in size, that they were 100% laid by human hands. They are not natural. They still don't know exactly what they were for. Most likely when this was made, it was not underwater.
Well, I mean,
obviously.
My whole question is, it's barely underwater now.
I know, barely.
I mean, 15 feet of water? I mean, that's nothing.
Yeah. So I think in the following months, they're going to do further investigations with the hope of discovering more about the artifacts and what it could possibly have been used for at the time.
I mean, that's a big, bold statement, to Swiss Stonehenge. It's because it doesn't sound like they're particularly big.
No, well, then it does say that some of the stones range in size up to almost 100 inches wide, and that they are I mean, there's some pictures. They are piled up, like they're not just scattered. I mean, there is a formation there. Like I said, they haven't really figured out what it's for. It does run completely parallel to the Swiss shoreline. So in essence, it could have been some kind of, boat building thing maybe, or something that had to do with the water.
No.
But
everything
at this point,
goes back to magic or sacrifice. They'll say it's all this stuff, but realistically, it was either for magic or sacrifice. I mean, talk about where you're at, man. I mean, Germany, Austria, Switzerland.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of magic in them there hills.
Yeah, so it was really cool how they did this because, they used the georadar. They figured out where they were underneath the sediment. And they had this ship that was equipped with a digging machine that has a 15-meter long arm, and it removed the material alongside the stones and revealed them so that they could study them.
Right.
So they're really excited about being able to do further study with this, and I hope that they figure out, maybe they'll find some other artifacts or something, or some other type
Seems like they could make a cofferdam, and especially with the 15 feet of water.
Well, it's only 15 feet down, but the lake is like 207 square miles, and I don't know how wide it is in that one particular area.
That's a lot. That's a big-ass lake.
It is. It's a very big lake. And it's 15 feet. It's still pretty far down for a cofferdam, I think.
I mean,
the only one I've ever seen is Oak Island, and that water was not that deep. I don't think.
But we're talking Germans.
True, German engineering.
I mean, all you got to do is get like 4 or 5 German. I would be so like if I went over to Alan Turner's house and hung out for a week, which I would love to do, Alan.
Right.
And well, I mean, the whole reason is I want to get in this big rig and go as fast as I can on the Autobahn. I mean, think about how amazing this dude's job is. Okay.
Right.
Alan is I could say he's a good friend now because it's been for so many years. But we've had him as a guest on the show. You can go look it up. But Alan is, his job is that he gets on his big rig or whatever, and he freaking drives on the Autobahn.
That's awesome.
And there's no speed limit.
I know.
I mean, how amazing and fun just to have a place with no speed limit.
Right.
And plus, if I'm not mistaken, it's beautiful there.
From what I hear, I think it's funny that we think that that's so amazing. And, people that drive on the Autobahn all the time are probably just like, eh.
Well, my only problem with it is he says that, because I always want to go over there and do paranormal.
Right.
And it's not like it's a far-fetched dream. It's one of those things which we could totally do in the summer next year. I mean, it's like that easy. But the thing that bothers me, he says they're very taboo about the paranormal, and like super taboo. Like you can't go investigate places, and that I just.
Well, you have to think there's a lot of sordid history.
Yeah, but you can avoid that stuff. That's
true.
Every place, Japan has that kind of history. I mean, we all do, right?
I mean, maybe it's just part of their culture, like part of how they act, like with British people, the stiff upper lip and all that. They don't complain about things, and
they can have a stiff upper lip, but they love the paranormal.
True.
I mean, the British arguably, number one, they were doing it first. The Psychical Research Society is the actual beginnings of what we do. And I'm sure somebody did it somewhere. But as far as the organized, cool, and it's awesome to read about some of the things they did. And they also did awesome stuff. They did things like, let's make a pact. If we die, we're going to come back and communicate, which they did. Right. And plus, I like the fact back in those days that I would love to go back and live my life out in like the Victorian era.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because of kind of like you were talking a while ago, you were excited about those scrolls because we don't know what's on them yet.
Right.
Okay. You get excited about those jars because you don't know what's inside of them yet.
Right.
It's and I'm the same way. It's almost like when you find out, it's the thought of, right?
Right.
And that would be the cool thing about living in the Victorian age is you could go through this because they were just coming into so many things at the time. They were just starting to get technology, And there were the possibilities were just limitless, and that's when so much great writing was occurring because of imaginations and everything. But I would love to go back and be John and Stacey doing a stage show. It would have had to have been on a stage, right? And doing a stage show, people come and we do what we're doing now.
Right.
Of course, we'd get arrested after the first one and be like, "Did they say that? Really?" But you know, it would be cool to hold seances and. But back in that time, because they also included the names, who's who, you know, like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. You know, they would have the people of the time. That was like the en vogue thing to do. I love that. And that's
pretty awesome.
That continued on like through 1920s Hollywood. It's so funny. People are always like, oh, back in the day, they weren't promiscuous. They were the 20s.
Oh, wow. Super promiscuous.
I truly think that the sins of the 20s caused the Great Depression. I really do, because I believe in stuff like that.
Right.
And I watch, you know how I am about history. In the 20s, man, prohibition my butt, right? It was so bad, like the kind of clubs that were everywhere. And Germany, speaking of, was one of the biggest flop housing places there was. Like Germany was like crazy, and people from all over the world, all the biggest stars, they all flocked to like Berlin and stuff to be part of that, because everything was open. Like it was sex with anybody. It was let's drink this, let's smoke this, let's try this.
Nothing was bad for you.
Well, no, they knew. they really knew, and they were all on like cocaine, and they were all. It was crazy. And honestly, not to go too far into it, but the whole Nazi party was kind of like getting back to, you know, originally, like that was kind of the pitch. Like, we're going to restore a little bit of, you know, and I think all the old people were just like, you know, harumph, you know. But no, it's just saying, I would love to be in an age again where it's just like where you wonder, because we feel like we know so much now. And we really don't, but
right.
It's just like so many veils have been removed. It's just, I like that age of wonderment.
Right. I gotcha. I would think we would have fit in very well in Victorian times.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
your hobby would be making like steampunk type machines.
My hobby would be
gears and levers and cogs. You'd love it.
No, my hobby would be investigating murders.
Oh, there you are.
Because I can tell you, man, it's my love for Sherlock Holmes is rivaled only by my love for Middle Earth. So and you know this.
Yes, I know this.
Poor Stacey. A lot of times when we go to bed, I listen to books. Well, not a lot of times, every time. So there's certain chapters that I fall asleep to better. So the last couple of nights, listen, I'm just going to level with you guys. So this is the third or fourth night in a row we've tried to record this show. And you're only getting this far in. So if you stuck around, we've got some great stories left. And this one, though, is interesting. So last night, and I'll get back to the book thing here in a second, but last night we were trying to record. We did the intro. By the way, there's been 2 intros on this show. We had to scrap one of them. And it was one of those weird things. We just couldn't talk. Like it was scratchy voices. It was weird. But last night, Great Antonio was getting ready to call in. And something happened. And let's just put it this way. About 3 hours later, Stacey is explaining something to me. I'm laying back on a pillow. And I'm just coming to, and she doesn't realize this. I think she thinks I've came to for 5-10 minutes, maybe. So she's explaining something to me, and the first thing I hear Stacey tell me is, "Did you hear me?" And I was just like, "Yeah." I mean, that's always.
I knew you didn't.
That's always my answer, but it was really strange. And then I found out today what the full story was. And it was even more bizarre, and it was lost time for me had it not been for Stacey and her scribing. You know, I wouldn't know anything that happened, but you know, it was very psychic. It was a very big vision type thing that happened. And it was insane. Like when I got the story, it was really insane.
Yeah, and the strange thing about it is it was not something that we could control, and that doesn't happen very often. I can only think of one or two other times where it happened, where you went away under or whatever, and you didn't have any control over it. Like you couldn't say, nope, I'm not going to do that now. Like it was too powerful. Yeah,
she was supposed to be slapping me in the face and, couldn't get my eyes open and just crazy stuff. But, maybe we'll go into that after we make sure the Men in Black don't show up, because there was some, according to Stacey, there was some very specific things, and it was like very descriptive where it was and what was happening, and it seemed like it was real time, and just some really crazy stuff, guys. But we've tried to record this several times, but when I do go to bed, it's I have certain chapters of books that I just love. So like if I'm like right now I'm listening to The Two Towers again, and so I love starting on chapter 2. They're just starting to look for they're setting off right now after the orcs, and
I think it's funny because John will be like, well, when did you fall asleep last night? And I can tell him when I fell asleep by what's happening in the story, and he'll know. Like he'll start it at chapter 2, and he'll be like, well, how long did it take you to fall asleep? And I'll be like, I didn't fall asleep till they met the Ent. And he'll be like, dear God, you were up that long? Yes.
That happened the other night. I
couldn't sleep.
She couldn't sleep at all, and that was basically the entire night. I was like,
it was like 3 hours.
Yeah,
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours.
I fell asleep like 30 minutes before I had to wake you up for work. It was ridiculous.
So I feel bad sometimes because I'll start she'll be like, yeah, I'm going straight to sleep, and I'll start the same chapter. I know there was a Harry Potter chapter, and I was going to play it one night, and she goes, is it the one where it starts off going, Ron? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, that's okay, I really like that one. But it's just comical to me because there's so many like chapters of books you probably know so well.
Right.
Because I go straight to sleep. Like my head hits the pillow and I am gone, brother.
Well, I mean, we each have our own thing. You turn some old wrestling on, I'll be asleep in 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I can't sleep. Like
something about that, and that happens with baseball too. Because when I was younger, I would go visit my grandparents. I'd spend the summer with my grandparents in Rhode Island. Huge Red Sox fans. They lived in Rhode Island near Pawtucket, and my grandmother never missed a game. And so all summer long, she'd always have baseball on. And so in the evening, I would be just laying in the floor in the living room, and there's announcers. It's something the way baseball announcers talk, and it's just kind of monotonous, and it's very even, and I would just fall asleep. And to this day, if I watch a baseball game, I mean, if I was in the park watching a baseball game at the ballpark, I'd probably still fall asleep.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's ridiculous.
I love commentary, and especially like in talking wrestling, Gorilla Monsoon. My favorite. He's just my favorite commentator of all time, and there's actually an action figure coming out for the first time soon, and I'm going to have it on my freaking wall. But truth be known, I used to love to go to sleep to wrestling. I mean, there's times that I really just watched it and stuff like that, but I remember this time, and it was the best I've ever felt in my entire life, and I've always wanted to feel that way again. And it was back, like, we didn't have a heat pump. We didn't have anything like that. So the windows would be open, and you have a fan up in the window, right? So I remember having a fan up in the window behind my bed. And I was laying on my bed, and I had just purchased a videotape of 1984 Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. So I turned it on, and I even remember the matches and stuff. And it's why I've always wanted those. Like, when I finally got them again, that was why I was chasing that dragon, because my parents were in the backyard, and they were doing some yard work and just kind of hanging out together. I'm in my room, and it's probably the last time of the year you're mowing, because it wasn't super hot, but there was a slight breeze because there was going to be a storm coming in soon.
Right.
It wasn't dangerous yet, but that breeze was coming in, right? And I remember laying there, and I put a dip in, because even as a young teenager, I would dip. But I remember putting a dip in and laying back, and I had that on. And it was just, I loved the commentary. And I was just, and it was actually not Gorilla on that, but you know, there was something about that night and that feeling and that time of day. And it just was so perfect and
peaceful.
But I never felt that good. It's kind of sad, but I've never felt that wonderful and that peace and no worries and everything. That's always what I'm after.
I feel like you get that at the beach a little bit, though.
I do.
That's why you like the beach so much. And I'm that way. If you just give me a quiet room, turn a fan on, make it a little bit warm, but have a fan running and just let me sit, and I could sleep for days.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's funny, we don't need a fan, and we recently pulled the box fan out, and we turn it away from us, but just having that on.
I think it's the noise and having that constant moving
that drone
air.
And the air moving around. Yeah, it's been great. So there you go, folks. It's been a while since we went out on a tangent like
nice
that.
Nice little insight to our lives there.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how we managed to get like that, but whatever. All right, so let's move on with these awesome stories. So this is a story about a new coin that has been made in Canada. The Canadian Mint has made this new glow-in-the-dark coin.
Gotta get one of these.
That shows the Shag Harbor UFO incident. It is a silver coin, and it's one of the ones, it's not a circulating coin, it's one done by the Royal Canadian Mint. It's like a collectible coin.
Like
it's
the Princess
silver.
Di coin.
Right. And it's a colorful image. It's on a rectangular coin, and it shows 3 fishermen aboard a boat, staring and gesturing as the ghostly image of a flying saucer appears to plunge into the dark waters near Shag Harbor. And it comes with an included little black light flashlight. And if you use that flashlight to illuminate the coin in the dark, the spaceship disappears, and you just see the 4 orange lights in the sky. So I thought I would just talk about the Shag Harbor UFO incident just really quickly. I know it's a really famous one, but for anyone that doesn't know, it happened on October 4th, 1967, and it was about 11:20 p.m., and it was reported that something had crashed into the waters of Shag Harbor. And a lot of people saw it. It said at least 11 people saw a low-flying lit object head towards the harbor. And multiple witnesses reported hearing like a whistling sound and a whoosh. Some of them said it was like a bomb. And then finally there was this loud bang. And the object was never officially identified and was therefore referred to as a UFO, an unidentified flying object. And that's how it's referred to in like Canadian government documents, because it was never officially identified. Now, the Canadian military became involved in like a rescue/recovery effort. And the initial report was made by this local resident and 4 of his friends, and they were driving through Shag Harbor on Highway 3, and they spotted a large object descending into the waters off the harbor. And as they sort of attained a better vantage point, him and his friends saw the object floating 250 to 300 meters offshore, and he contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and reported that he had seen a large airplane or small airliner crash into the waters. Like, he was really concerned that it was people and an airplane. Assuming that that some kind of aircraft had crashed, the authorities arrived in like 15 minutes. And they started assessing the situation. They called around and asked if any aircraft were missing. And they said before any attempt at a rescue could be made, the object started to sink and disappeared from view. So within a half an hour of the crash, a rescue mission was assembled. Local fishing boats went out to the crash site. And this is in the Gulf of Maine, right off of Shag Harbor. And they were looking for survivors, no body, no debris. Nobody found any kind of anything floating around. And by the next morning, they determined that no aircraft were missing. And the captain of the Canadian Coast Guard received a radio message from the RCC Halifax that all commercial, private, and military aircraft were accounted for, and that all conventional explanations such as aircraft flares, etc., that had all been dismissed. So it was officially labeled a UFO report, and they recommended an underwater search be mounted. So 2 days after the incident had been observed, a detachment of divers from Fleet Diving Unit Atlantic was assembled, and for the next 3 days, they combed the sea floor of the Gulf of Maine off Shag Harbor. This is just 2 days later, and the final report said that no trace of an object was found. Now, that doesn't mean that no trace of an object was found, but the official report says they didn't find anything. So nobody has any idea. It's a very famous, tons of witnesses, tons of documentation. And because Canada likes to document these kind of things, they minted this coin to sort of commemorate this UFO incident, which I think is amazing. Now, these went on sale last Tuesday, I believe, and by the end of Tuesday, 95% of them were sold.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they retail for $129.95. And I believe they were doing this festival this last weekend, the Shag Harbor UFO Festival, and they held a contest where people could win some. So some lucky person got to win the coins, and they made a total of 4,000 of them. But on the first day, 95% of them were gone. So
I want one of those for Dad.
Yeah, they're awesome. It's such an awesome story. And in this other report that I read, it said that when it slipped beneath the surface of the water, it left behind a strange orange foam. So, I mean, I only saw that reported once, so I don't know.
It's weird because we've heard of like orange foam before.
Yeah. So it's just really crazy that they never found anything. And, this isn't the first time Canada's done this. I think we talked last year about a coin they released. It was like an egg-shaped coin about the Falcon Lake.
Yeah.
Close encounter, the guy who got hurt and all that.
First off, Shag Harbor is exactly where I would go park.
It's like you named it.
I mean, it's kind of like, so what do you want to do? Well,
we are at Shag Harbor. I think it's obvious. All right, well, let's move on. And this next story is also about a coin or a set of coins, and this is from Australia. So the Australian, the Australian Mint, yes, they do. They eat you.
Mercury coins.
The Australian Mint and Australia Post released coins to celebrate iconic Australian culture. And it's a set of 26 coins, one for each letter of the alphabet.
Cool. Has it got like prisoners coming to the...
Yeah, I think so. I think P is for prisoner. And they're calling it the Great Aussie Coin Hunt. And let me explain why. They're going to release millions of them. They're $1 coins. And they've got the first 6 available already. And then every week or so, they're going to release a few more on every Monday until October 21st, where they'll get to Z. And the only way to get your hands on these coins is to make a purchase at an Australian Post store and get them in your change.
Wow.
So you have to go to an Australian Post store, pay with cash, and if you have dollar change, they'll give you the coins as change, possibly. And you don't know which ones you're going to get, and I guess you go every Monday to try and get the new ones. But I love these coins. There's one for every letter of the alphabet.
A would be Angus Young. B, B Bon Scott. C, Crocodile Dundee.
No,
D
actually,
be like Diggery-Doo.
Now, this article, it does show pictures of all of them. I don't have the complete list. A is Australia Post. M is Meat Pie.
Oh.
And there's one. Z is this summer staple. They say it's a summer staple. It's called a Zooper Duper.
Oh.
Do you know what a Zooper Duper is?
No.
It's just like a frozen popsicle tube. Like we have those frozen popsicles in tube. You cut the end off and eat them. That's what it is. Only it's called a Zooper Duper. That's what they put on the coin. And do you know what V is?
Victory?
No. They put it on their sandwiches, and you had no idea what it was when you were a kid.
Oh, my God. Not a Vegemite.
It's Vegemite for V. But the most interesting coin, and the reason I got the story, is for the Y coin. It's a Yowie.
Oh.
And it's such a cute coin. The little Yowie on the back is it's adorable. I'm going to show you this picture here. I hope you can see it. It's kind of small. Here he is right here.
Let's see.
Isn't that adorable?
Yeah.
I want a Yowie coin.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But apparently he's an iconic Australian part of culture. They display animals, food,
Shouldn't
culture.
they have made a Aboriginal?
You would think so, but they didn't. So
sorry about the land.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing they found something with every letter of the alphabet.
Yeah. K should be kill you.
It's probably kangaroo, I would think. But I don't know. I don't have the whole list. Like I said, kill you. Everything kills you in Australia. X is for a city called Xantippe.
It's like, that's right, folks. Every coin is 100% lead. Kids enjoy. They taste great.
Well,
Australia,
anyway.
If you grow to an adult, you're a bad mofo.
All right. Well, let's move on to this next story. And this is an awesome story about an art installation that is going to be a 90-foot holographic ghost ship.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that awesome? And this is at Penn's Landing. It's in Philadelphia. We were just there, but it didn't start while we were there. We left before this started.
Oh, you didn't see the ghost ship?
No.
I'm just playing.
So in the
Roast rib.
in the Penn's Landing section of Philadelphia, they are going to have this art installation that they just call Ghost Ship. It is a 90-foot, three-dimensional light and water-based image, like a hologram, and it's an 18th century ship, and it's all white, and they're calling it a ghost ship. It's amazing. There's a picture of it, and it says while taking in the amazing sight, visitors can listen to recordings from historians and artists about the shared history of the Delaware River, and you just sort of walk down the river, and they have these little places you stop and listen to it, and you can, view the ghost ship from all these different angles, and it's really impressive. And they're doing this ghost ship from October 4th to November 3rd. Wednesdays through Sundays from 7 to 10 p.m., rain or shine, you can go down there and see it. And it's a self-guided audio tour. And while you're there, you can also, they are going to have a beer garden. They're calling it a pop-up river beer garden so that you can go grab your beer, get some snacks, just spend a few hours down there and take in all the sights. So it seems like a really cool thing that they're doing. I guess it's like a Halloween thing.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had... I don't know, you'll have the reports and they're like, hey, Timmy, did you like the ghost ship? Yes, the Viking ship was awesome, because that always happens, right?
Right.
It's like there's actually a ghost ship there. And...
Well, I thought this was pretty cool, and I like that they're tying the history into it. It's basically the history of the importance of the Delaware River to Philadelphia, and there's diverse stories from before the colonization all the way up to the present day.
Yep.
So I'm glad that they're having this cool ghosty thing, but doing a lot of history with it too.
It's awesome.
All right, so let's move on to an actual ghost story.
Yay!
Ghost story. We don't get these very often, but I love this. This is about a high school in Ghana that was shut down following an alleged ghost sighting. So
I tell you, man, those Ghananese, they take stuff serious. Every time we get a story, it's like some village or somewhere like Ghana. And
it is a village.
and they don't screw around. They're just like, I saw a ghost, it's like, shut it down, burn it,
So this was a high school, and it said it began in the village of Fumbisi on Sunday evening when a group of female students were studying in their dormitory.
Having pillow fights.
And of course they were, in like little shorts and feathers flying everywhere. According to the teens, their work was interrupted when an apparition of a person just suddenly appeared before their eyes. Just there it was. And the surprising appearance of the spirit frightened them so much that they fled the room in terror. And one of the girls jumped from the second story of the building to the ground below because it freaked her out so bad. She jumped like out the window or something to escape it.
Oh my God. That's not funny at all.
No, it's not. I mean, they must have really seen something to be terrified like that. And they
all threw Tiffany out the window.
Around 20 students wound up needing to be hospitalized following the scare because they collapsed during the chaotic scene. And some people are speculating that it could have been some kind of spiritual attack on the students. So making matters worse for the administrators of the school, all of this chaos led to protests among other students who were calling for better conditions and security at the school, although I'm not sure how, I don't know what the conditions are like. It didn't go into that, but I don't know how extra security would, prevent a ghost from popping up in your room. Yeah. Like, I don't think that that's something that could happen. And during the protest, they began pelting the headmaster's residence with rocks, and they assaulted a night watchman. Like, they were mad. And then they went on a hunger strike, and eventually the officials temporarily shut the facility down just to, appease the students. And it doesn't say what they're going to do about the particular ghost sighting. Like, I don't know if they're going to try and do some kind of cleansing or anything like that, but they did shut the school down to try and restore some order, to the place. And this is not the first time, obviously, we've talked about this. And of course, the article does mention those two words that we hear with these incidents, mass hysteria. But I just don't know how this could possibly be mass hysteria. I mean, somebody jumped out the window.
Yeah. No,
that's ridiculous.
No, it sounds like they've definitely seen something. I mean, do you think they would fly us in?
I have no idea.
You know, I would love to. That's what we need to do. We just need to start like ghost busting in the villages. Like
offering to go
on like some African village tour. I mean, obviously.
I don't know. That's dangerous because the first time you do something that you're talking about some suspicious people and they really believe in that stuff. And if you overstepped your bounds or you did something that they thought was a little bit weird, you're talking about being mobs and, shenanigans and burnings and things.
Dude, look.
I'm not about that.
A bunch of uppity high schoolers go on a hunger strike. Guess what's going to happen?
They're going to get hungry.
Yeah.
They'll eat eventually when they are hungry.
They ain't met me yet. You throw a rock at me, I'm going to have my bat over there.
I think it's funny because I feel like they said that they were studying in their dormitory, this group of high school teens. And they probably obviously were not doing any kind of weird supernatural games or Ouija boards.
They were doing the Ouija board.
Right, or playing.
It's the first thing I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. The first time I read it, I was like, they were doing something. They were telling ghost stories. They were freaking each other out. They were doing some kind of weird, scary game that you do at sleepovers. Just something they saw on TV or read on the internet or something. So who knows? Because obviously they all stuck to their story.
Yeah. So was the girl okay?
It didn't say anybody was seriously injured. They did all have to go to the hospital. I believe there were injuries, but not critical. Yeah. So
second floor. I mean, you would think. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they need to check her for being possessed. Possibly. It's like, oh no, she's fine.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about the article is it didn't really go into what the apparition looked like. I guess maybe nobody got a really good look at it. Like, I guess they just got freaked out and ran.
Looked like a ghost. I mean,
it was white, whatever. It wasn't there, and then it was. Yeah. So let's move on to this next story. This is a Bigfoot story from North Carolina. It sounded more like a Chewbacca.
No, that sounded like a Bigfoot.
Are you sure? Okay.
I think so. I mean, no, it was in the distance.
It was.
It would not.
So this is from North Carolina. It's about a ghostly image that was captured along Lake James, and a lot of people think that this picture, even though it's grainy, shows the shadowy figure of Bigfoot standing on the banks of Lake James. Now, this is an area that is known for its Bigfoot sightings.
Right.
So this is not the first time this has popped up in this area. Now, the series of images were reportedly taken about 2 a.m. on a Saturday, and they were posted on Facebook by a group called Bigfoot 911. It's like a research group. I think we've talked about them before. And this is the same team that reported seeing Bigfoot 2 years ago in an area close to that, but they didn't get any proof that particular time. This time they got pictures. And the gentleman that was talking about, the member of this Bigfoot 911, his name is John Bruner. He was talking to this news outlet, and he said that, he locked right onto this creature. He knew immediately it was a Bigfoot. He was standing there among the trees watching them. I think they were out on the lake, and he was swaying back and forth. And he said he guessed he felt safe because they were in a boat and he was on shore and he was kind of behind a couple of the trees. He said the encounter lasted 5 minutes and ended when the figure appeared to turn and walk away. He said he didn't feel like they were in any danger, that Bigfoot are curious sometimes and they like to watch us to see what we're doing. But also they don't really want interaction, so he didn't want to engage them. He was just looking to see what they were doing, and then he went back into the woods. Now, this particular area, Lake James, it's a 6,812 acre lake. It's 45 miles northeast of Asheville, and it has 150 miles of shoreline, and most of that is very densely wooded. So it is a perfect area for a Sasquatch to be seen. And at the time, the men were scouting the area because they had recently received reports that night fishermen had seen something watching them from the shore. And at least one of the sportsmen that put in a report believed he had seen Bigfoot back in June. So they were on this nighttime excursion to see if they saw anything. Now, of course, reaction to the photos on social media is kind of a mix like you normally get with Bigfoot photos. Yes, it's a grainy photo. It was nighttime. It was taken with like a night vision kind of camera. Some people, they see a shadow, but they just think it's like a hole in the trees. I looked at it. It does look very Bigfoot shaped. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where you just have to sort of use your own judgment, but it's not like this isn't an area that this kind of thing has happened before.
Right.
So it's very likely.
Yeah, we've had quite a few from North Carolina. So interesting stuff there.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And it's kind of put that Bigfoot up in the forefront again in that area. So maybe look at some better pictures of it.
Yeah. I mean, being that close to Asheville is either a Bigfoot or a hippie. Mm-hmm. So who would also just watch and then walk away into the woods and be very hairy. Yeah.
All right, so I just have a few more stories here, some just little quick ones that I liked, and this one you're gonna love the story. It's about a dinosaur fossil.
Oh boy!
And it's an impressive ichthyosaurus fossil. Now, ichthyosaurus is one of those like lizard fish swimming in the water with the fins,
right?
And supposedly, this giant ichthyosaurus fossil was found by a family in Victorian England.
Wow.
And they were a God-fearing family. And I mean, we're talking about 150 years ago. It was like 1850 is when they found it. Now, this family, they are brandy makers, cider brandy makers. And the man's name was Julian Temperley. He lived in Somerset, England. And they had the Temperley Cider Brandy Company. That's what they do for a living. But this family was such a God-fearing family, and they worried about finding this fossil,
right,
that meant that they were denying God. So they buried it. They were like in a quarry, and they buried it back in the quarry and just left it there. They didn't tell anybody. They kept it hidden for all this time, all 150 years. So recently, the gentleman the Temperley that currently runs the Temperley Cider Brandy Company, because they still make cider brandy, he talked about remembering when he was a kid going to this area during the summer, and they would like dig it up a little bit and look at it, but then they would always rebury it. So recently, back in 2013 and 2014, there was some severe flooding in that area. So he finally decided that it was time to unearth it for good. It didn't need to be hidden anymore, obviously. And so he hired a professional fossil collector to excavate the fossil and help clear it up. And supposedly, there's not pictures of it yet, but by all accounts of what has been heard, it's a pretty impressive specimen.
Right.
And so he's going to add an image of this ichthyosaurus on the label of his cider brandy. Yeah. And he's going to hang it like in the factory there. And he did pay like more than 3,000 pounds to have this done. Yeah. But he just figured, that it's time. It doesn't need to stay there. He didn't want it to get ruined.
The shirts,
just the fact that family was so concerned about finding this dinosaur fossil that they just hid it. They didn't dig it up all the way. They just covered it back up. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Especially that generation after generation knew about it.
Yeah, the family that just got passed down through the family.
So, you talk about a haunting. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the original family, like when he decides to make money off this thing? Not just dig it up,
right?
But dig it up and show it. And
well, they've owned this business for all this time. He's probably still there. Around the.
I'm just saying, brandy. Man, you know how that is. Mm-hmm. If you had a family secret, man, that's one of the biggest things for paranormal.
Right. And you're talking about a 90 million year old fossil, ridiculous, and being mounted in his place of business. That's awesome. What a cool story, though.
Yeah.
I'm glad he decided to dig it up and try to get the stigma off of it.
I want to get one of the bottles with it on it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
That'd be really cool.
All right, so here's another story from North Carolina.
Wow.
And I love this story. You're going to think this is hilarious. And this is about the most stolen library book in Buncombe County.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and that's in Asheville.
Yes, I know.
Asheville, North Carolina. Love Asheville, North Carolina. So, according to the libraries in the area, the book that goes missing more than any other book.
50 Shades of Grey?
No. Haunted Asheville.
Are you serious?
Written by none other than Joshua P. Warren.
Yeah.
And so apparently people come in, they check the book out, and they just never return it. And it's not just one library, it's every library. They said that no book is stolen from their libraries more than this particular book. And to deter the thieves, the librarians have taken to storing the copies behind the counter. Like, they won't even put them out because they can't keep them. And according to one librarian that they spoke to, he said any librarian in the county will tell you that they've lost copies of it. Every branch of the county has had a copy go missing, and some many copies. And it says county library records show 27 of 37 of the copies that supposedly are there now are either missing or lost.
Wow.
And that doesn't even include older copies that have been erased from the system because they went missing a long time ago.
Right.
And this particular librarian estimates that dozens have disappeared over the years from the library that he works in alone. And he says time and again, citizens enter the libraries to discover that it's in the catalog, but they can't find it on the shelves. So he thinks that it appeals to people because they check it out, then they use it as a guide to, travel around Asheville, and then they just don't ever return it. And I thought that was really funny because every time it's stolen, the library has to buy another copy to replace it.
So you're thinking that Joshua P. Warren has like this whole stack of his old books.
There you go. Well, I was honestly, I was going to make that joke, but later in the article, they do talk to Joshua P. Warren, and he does say that he's happy to donate any of his books to libraries if they keep going missing. He thinks it's kind of funny that that's the book that gets stolen, because normally the world's most stolen book is the King James Bible, and people in Buncombe County, they don't steal that. They don't want the Bible. They want the haunted Asheville book, and that says a lot about Asheville right there for anybody that's never been there. So it's just it's just an epidemic in that area. So I thought that was really funny, and I love that they did this story. And I love that it's Joshua P. Warren's book. I believe he talks about, he wrote that book so long ago that it was almost like the first one of its kind. Like, you can get those anywhere now. But I think that was one of the first ones that had ever been written, Haunted Asheville. There's so many haunted locations in Asheville. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I've never read that particular one, but I bet it's fascinating.
Biltmore, My Old Apartment.
Exactly.
All kinds of,
All right. So I have this last story here. And this is about a celebrity-owned New York mansion that was once declared legally haunted is on the market again. $1.9 million.
For illegally haunted.
Yes. And this house was in the news because in 1991, the New York Supreme Court decided that the house was legally haunted in this famous case known as the Ghostbusters ruling. So 28 years later, that same house is back on the market for $1.9 million. I went to the listing and I looked at the pictures, and this house is beautiful. This is my dream house. It is a Queen Victorian, 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, right on the water, tree-lined streets, just absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
It's located at 1 Lavetta Place, and it's on the Hudson River front. It's 4,628 square feet, stained glass windows, arched doorways, huge garage, sunroom, saltwater pool, overlooks the river, built in 1890. Just beautiful. I mean, exactly what you would look for in a house.
What's the haunting?
So in 1977, there was a story in the Reader's Digest, as well as several stories in the local newspaper, where the owner of the house, a woman named Helen Ackley, claimed that spirits from the Revolutionary War era were present in her home. And she asserted that ghosts regularly interacted with her family, including waking up her daughter each morning by shaking her bed. So when she finally went to sell the house in the late 80s, she was sued by the man who had entered into a contract to buy it. His name was Jeffrey Stambovsky. And he claimed that she neglected to inform him of the supposed paranormal presence. I mean, despite the fact that there was a whole story in Reader's Digest and it was all on the news, he had no idea. And she supposedly didn't tell him, and so he wanted to get out of it. So because it was widely known and published that she believed that the house was to be haunted, and she had therefore created a stigma around the property, he won the suit and was allowed to back out of the contract, and the home was officially dubbed haunted under the law. So legal court, legal haunted house. So since then, it's been owned by some famous people. It was owned by director Adam Brooks, who lived there for 20 years, a singer named Ingrid Michaelson, and most recently a rapper named Mattis Yahoo. Yeah, I don't know. He's the one that's listed the house with Better Homes and Gardens Rand Realty. And the lady at Better Homes and Gardens, her name is Nancy Blaker Weber. She's the one that sold this house over and over again. And supposedly, according to her, none of the past 3 owners have reported seeing any ghosts or saying that the house was haunted. And in fact, they all think it's very amusing that this woman claimed it was haunted back in the day.
The woman was probably haunted.
That's what I was thinking. She probably had all kinds of people around her. It does look like it could be haunted because it's just that kind of awesome looking house. And it's like I said, it's beautiful, but it's really interesting because you don't hear about houses, legally being dubbed haunted.
No, it doesn't. It also, the haunting doesn't make sense because it's 1890. And Revolutionary War.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. Possibly the land it was built on, maybe. I don't know. I know that it's on the Hudson River, but I don't know exactly that geographically where it is. So.
Right. No, it's very cool, though. Very cool. And no, you don't hear that very much. I think in the future, it'll probably be way more prevalent.
I do want to mention one more thing. That was my last news story, but I do want to mention one more thing before we end the show, and that is that there is a full moon coming up. Very close to my birthday. It's on the 13th of October for the full moon. That's not my birthday. My birthday is the 15th for anybody that needs to, know when my birthday is. But I wanted to warn you ahead of time because you know how you get with full moons.
Yes.
You get kind of squirrely and all the crazies come out. And so I just wanted to mention some really crazy stuff that has been happening in the news. These are not news stories that I wanted to get, but because there's a full moon coming up and people are kind of acting kind of crazy, I wanted to mention a few things that I saw in the news of people acting absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so the first one, and I know you've seen this, it's about the woman at the Bronx Zoo that got in the lion exhibit.
Yeah.
Did you see that? She climbed in and was like, here, lion, lion, lion. I don't know.
They freaked the lion out.
It did. The lion was like, I don't know. Like, I think the lion knew about all the other. He's like, I'm going to get shot here. I'm not comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Could you get out of my pen, please?
Yeah.
It was really bad. And the woman, she was not shy about it. She posted pictures. All these inspirational messages with her pictures. And I think on the main one, it says, animals can feel love just like humans. Like she was literally wanting to love on this animal. And she believed because she loves the animals that they weren't going to eat her face off.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That doesn't work out
crazy.
well.
No, I don't think it works out like that. I don't think that's how it works exactly. I do believe she's been banned from the zoo, which is probably smart. And no one was hurt. Thankfully, the lion didn't attack her and eat her face off.
They need to put her in an exhibit. Crazy woman who
very crazy
hugs
woman.
lions.
Yes. So another crazy story I saw was about a man who fell into Old Faithful at Yellowstone.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
He'll be back out here now.
He's 48 years old. His name was Cade Siemens. And he ended up with burns to most of his body because, there's hot water in there. It's like, I think the water can get to be over 200 degrees and the steam can be over 350 degrees. And he claims that he went out for a walk and he didn't have a flashlight and he stumbled into the geyser. And so the next day, the investigators went out there because he had to go to the hospital. He has burns over most of his body. So they went out to investigate, and kind of around where the geyser is, they found an empty beer can, his shoe, his hat, and footprints that go to the geyser and back away from it. And he did get a ticket because he was in an area that is off limits to the public, obviously.
Right.
So I found this really funny because, he had to climb some kind of fence or go around some kind of barrier. It didn't have anything to do with a flashlight. That guy was drunk and he was like, I'm going swimming in that because it's warm. And he just wasn't thinking. And he's like, oh yeah, I fell.
If I was going to do it, in there. I would do it when it was going to blow.
I don't think you'd survive that. But I could just picture them out there and seeing like these bare feet walking to the geyser and walking back in.
What a moron.
Oh, it's only funny because he didn't die. If he had died, it'd been horrid.
It would still be funny.
But I'm pretty sure he did that purposely. I don't think that was an accident.
Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more crazy story about crazy people, and this is about a North Dakota man who is in trouble now. He's pleading guilty because he tried to kill a woman because he thought she was a witch. He said she was a witch, and so he decided he was going to kill her. He's just 21 years old.
She probably was.
And she's a female student at the University of North Dakota that didn't say why. He never said why he thought she was a witch. He just thought that she was a witch, so he stalked her. He went to some kind of pawn shop and bought an antique silver pocket knife because he thought he needed the silver to kill her.
Yeah.
So first of all, he needs to study his lore a little better because you don't need silver for witches. Silver's is werewolves. Witches is a totally different thing. But he actually attacked her and slashed at her throat. She did have some injuries, but he didn't kill her. He was arrested. And now he's in jail. I would like to point out that he is not a citizen of the United States. He is a citizen of Uzbekistan. And the article didn't give his immigration status. They said they didn't know what it was. So I don't know what's going to happen now. He does have a hearing coming up, but absolutely out of his mind.
No, that's
absolutely no reason to think that.
That's crazy. And he's a newt as well now.
Yes, I'm sure she got her revenge.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just be careful. Full moon coming up. If you do something crazy, it's probably going to come back on you. And so I just want to mention these two more things about karma. I believe in karma. And I saw these two stories I thought were really funny. One is about an Arizona man who was trying to complain about the people upstairs making too much noise. So his idea was to take out his gun and shoot at the ceiling.
Oh, my God.
Because they were being too loud, and ended up shooting himself in the face. So there's karma number one. And the second one's from San Jose. There's a man in San Jose named Brian Gundy, and he was finishing up this presentation at Martin Luther King Jr. Library in downtown San Jose. And he was making several trips to his car to pack up his stuff, and he backed out. And when he backed out, he noticed one of his duffel bags was missing. And he had noticed some people around the parking lot, so he's really worried about it. But what the thieves didn't know is that Brian Gundy is a reptile breeder.
Oh, God.
So when they opened the bag, what they got was 4 snakes and a reptile.
Oh, my God.
So a couple days later, he did find the duffel bag and 2 of the snakes in a dumpster. 2 of the snakes are still missing. And he's hoping for their safe return. They're very expensive snakes. I think in the bag, he had like 3 ball pythons and a baby albino caramel Burmese python and then some kind of lizard. But that was karma for those thieves. They thought they were getting some good stuff. They thought they were getting some money or something they could sell. And could you imagine their faces when they opened that bag?
Yeah.
And snakes came out. I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious. A little karma and some crazy people just to finish it off.
Good Lord. I seen a story. Somebody returned a stone or a brick to another haunted location with an apology on it. Mm-hmm. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, that's... And crazy people are all the time. They don't need a moon, but
this is true.
But the moon does bring it out.
It is relevant, though. Yes.
Yeah, it brings it out in me. I know that much. But speaking of bringing it out in me, so does ParanormalSideshow.com, and that's where you can go find everything we've talked about and more. Find all kinds of fun stuff. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Just the same. And Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. Also on the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Go on there and give us a little tweet. Say tweet. So we'll be back next week. And this is our Shocktober. And we're going to have a lot of fun throughout the month. And we'll have some more Halloween-y type things. And you might even get a bonus episode next week. You never know.
You never know.
Because I know I'm going to be off from #BruceWayneJob. And my whole goal next week is to hide from humanity.
Yes.
So speaking for my lovely, beautiful, and bodacious wife, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.